Chapter 212. The Zephyr Dojo was the undisputed #1 dojo in Beijing headquarters city. It was located in the center of the city and occupied a large area. It had over 1,000 members, among which there were over 100 war god experts. Every time something happened in the Zephyr Dojo, it would attract a lot of attention from the media. For example, today, the head of the Zephyr Dojo, Yu Jinhua, announced that he had removed the head of the Zephyr Dojo, Dongfang Jun, from his position. This caused a lot of speculation on the internet. While this matter was still being discussed, Yu Jinhua announced that he would donate 10 billion to charity. This matter immediately attracted the attention of the media. Many reporters rushed over to interview him. Yu Jinhua also accepted the interview. He was standing in front of the Zephyr Dojo. He was wearing a suit. The wound on his back, caused by Lin Jun, was still burning with pain, but he still stood in front of the crowd and spoke frankly. Because of the Godly General Training Camp's confidentiality system, the things that happened there wouldn't be leaked to the outside world. Head Yu, why did you remove Dongfang Jun from his position? Is there any personal grudge between you two? Head Yu, according to the internet, your son hasn't been able to leave the Godly General Training Camp. He has already been in the camp for 7 to 8 years. Did something happen? Head Yu, can you answer the internet rumor? Some people say that your removal of Dongfang Jun is related to your son. Apparently, he is already dead. At this time, Yu Jinhua took out a handkerchief and wiped the corner of his eyes. This action by a man in his 50s immediately confirmed everyone's guess. First, I would like to ask everyone to forgive my loss of composure. My son, Yu Feng, did indeed die in the Godly General Training Camp. Moreover, he died in my arms. As a father, I'm sure everyone can understand my feelings. The reporters all nodded, expressing their sympathy and pity. However, it was clear that there was more to this story. However, because of the training camp's confidentiality system, I can't reveal the details of the situation there. I also can't reveal the name of the murderer. Everyone can find out through various channels. I just want to tell everyone that good and evil will eventually be rewarded. Our Zephyr Dojo will donate 10 billion to the families of the dead fighters to prove our attitude. The reporters took notes one after another. It seemed that there was a story behind Yu Jinhua's words. However, the donation of 10 billion yuan did give him a lot of points, which was enough to win the support of many people. Yu Jinhua's donation was prepared for the families of the deceased martial artists. These martial artists had died in all kinds of battles. Because they had lost their source of income, many of these martial artist families had gone from prosperity to decline. Some were even retaliated against by their enemies. The lives of these ordinary people were very miserable, and many of them were even homeless. For example, some martial artist children would become orphans after losing their parents. Some martial artist parents would lose their children and have no one to support them. These were all problems that martial artists were worried about. Yu Jinhua's actions had undoubtedly attracted the support of a large number of martial artists. Although 10 billion might not be able to solve all problems, it could still warm their hearts. Many comments on the internet started to support Yu Jinhua, and Gail's reputation was also rising. This was the effect that Yu Jinhua wanted to achieve. Yu Jinhua spoke with assurance. The signing ceremony for the donation was about to begin. As long as it was signed, Yu Jinhua had to pay this sum of money. At this moment, a staff member suddenly rushed over and gestured to Yu Jinhua. Yu Jinhua apologized to the reporters, then walked to the corner and asked the person, "What's the matter? Can't you see that I'm busy?" "Master, bad news. Lin Jun is here." "He's here? What is he doing here? Who is he with?" Yu Jinhua's eyes suddenly widened. "He came with some people from the martial arts union. He said that he wants our Gale Martial Arts School to honor the IOU that the young master personally wrote. It's the 500 million. This bastard actually has an IOU. Is it necessary to bring people from a martial arts union for such a small amount of money? Will I go back on my word because of this? However, this matter can't be made public. It's just 500 million. You go and deal with it." "Master, it's not that simple. Lin Jun's hand is not an IOU. If it's not an IOU, how many are there? Are there 10? Give him 5 billion. Give him 10 billion. The people from the martial arts union are here. It's impossible to go back on your word. Gail's reputation cannot be ruined. Why are you hemming and hawing? Didn't you see that the signing ceremony is still waiting for me to attend? My dismissal of Dongfang Jun's position has caused some doubts. Right now, I urgently need to restore my reputation. I don't have time to grind my teeth with you here. The staff member braced himself and said, a total of 200 IOU. So what if it's 200? Isn't it just? How much do you want? Yu Jinhua suddenly jumped up like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. 200 IOU, a total value of 100 billion. It's now in the hall of the martial arts school, waiting to be exchanged. He also said that if the money is not transferred to him within half an hour, he will call the reporters outside in. Yu Jinhua's head was sweating profusely. He knew about the IOU that Yufeng wrote. Yufeng also said that he would find a way to take it back soon. However, after Yufeng died, no one came to collect the money. Yu Jinhua forgot about this. He didn't expect that these IOU were basically in Lin Jun's hands. This was bad. 100 billion was not 10 million. Although Lai Feng was now the #1 martial arts school, the liquid capital on the books was not more than 100 billion. Lin Jun's drastic measures were fatal. What should we do? The people from the martial arts union are here. If we don't pay, they can forcefully freeze our property auction. If the reporters find out, our Lai Feng will face an existential crisis. Yu Jinhua anxiously paced around on the ground. Finally, he said to the staff member, how much money do we have on the books now? 80 billion. Excluding the 100 billion for Lin Jun, we still need 10 billion for donations outside. We still need 30 billion. We must send Lin Jun away immediately. I will call to borrow money now. Yu Jinhua took out his phone and began to look for friends to borrow money. However, the process of borrowing money did not go smoothly. Although the public did not know about the Divine General Training Camp, it was almost no secret to people at Yu Jinhua's level. People were dissatisfied with Yu Jinhua's actions. When they heard that he wanted to borrow money, many people shook their heads and refused. Yu Jinhua begged for money for a long time. In the end, he even found a bank to mortgage the money. Fortunately, the bank loans were very fast now. In half an hour, he had collected 30 billion. The staff hurried over and transferred 100 billion to Lin Jun. Yu Jinhua did not want to see Lin Jun's proud face. He told the staff to go to the front hall immediately after transferring the money. He still needed to use the remaining 10 billion. After that, he turned around and left. After the staff transferred 100 billion to Lin Jun, he did not expect that Lin Jun would take out another 20 IOU and ask Lai Feng to pay the remaining 10 billion immediately. When the money was transferred, the balance was shown. Lai Feng's account still had 10 billion. Under the supervision of the Martial Arts Union, the staff had no choice but to transfer the remaining 10 billion to Lin Jun. Lin Jun took the money and said goodbye to the Martial Arts Union. He asked the Martial Arts Union to supervise the payment of 1% of the transaction. For this, Lin Jun also paid 1 billion. However, Lin Jun did not care. The staff ran to the front hall with sweat all over his forehead. When he saw Yu Jinhua about to sign the document, he hurried over and told him the cruel truth. Lai Feng's account had no money. Not only did he have no money, but he also owed the bank 30 billion. This was a huge hole. When the reporters saw Yu Jinhua coming back, they began to applaud enthusiastically. Countless cameras were aimed at him, waiting for the moment when he signed the document. At this moment, Yu Jinhua felt that the pen in his hand weighed 1,000 pounds. He did not expect Lin Jun to play such a trick with him. If he signed the document and swiped the card on the spot, there would be no money. What would happen? Wouldn't that make people laugh their heads off? What should I do? What should he do? Yu Jinhua thought quickly. It was impossible to borrow 10 billion now, and the bank would not continue to lend him the loan. The only way was to renege on the debt. Thinking of this, Yu Jinhua, who had been weighing the pros and cons for a long time, finally made up his mind. He put down the pen and said, I think we need to reconsider our donation. Martial artists are rich. Even if they leave, their family life should not be difficult. I think the homeless people on the street need help more than them, so Lai Feng has decided to reconsider the donation direction. As soon as he said this, The faces of many martial artists present changed. Yu Jinhua, what do you mean? Are you going to ignore what you said? Are those homeless people more in need of financial support than those families who have lost their martial artist relatives? Yu Jinhua, you're a martial artist and the dojo master of live foam. This is a farce. Oh my God, the dojo master of live foam went back on his word. This is going to make the headlines. You are Live Foam Bull. You are the #1 martial arts dojo. Although I am not qualified to join Live Foam, I will not join you as long as you are the dojo master here. The martial artists present were filled with righteous indignation. The reporters were so excited that they kept taking pictures and recording. This matter was too sensational. They must broadcast it as soon as possible. Yu Jinhua's face turned red and white. He had no choice. Otherwise, who would do such a thing? He wanted to leave on the spot. At this time, Lin Jun suddenly walked in front of the reporters and said, "Everyone, I sympathize with the families of the martial artists who have lost their loved ones. The martial artists risked their lives to hunt mutated beasts outside to surround their homes. We can't let them have any more worries, so I have decided to donate to these martial artists' families. The amount is 30 billion. When Lin Jun raised 3 fingers, the reporters and martial artists present were in an uproar. May I ask who you are? Are you a martial artist of live foam? A reporter rushed to ask. Yu Jinhua said loudly from behind, "Yes, I was just joking with everyone just now. This person is a martial artist of live foam. His name is Lin Jun, and he is from Ice City. He is a member of Live Foam. Everyone can check it out." In Yu Jinhua's opinion, Lin Jun should be trying to reconcile with him. "Fine, I will give you some face first. After this, I will deal with you." Chapter 213. The place that Lin Jun wanted to donate to had a name. It was called the Martial Artist Charity Relief Fund. The other party's people were waiting at the scene. Because Yu Jinhua went back on his word, the people from the fund almost left in anger. But unexpectedly, Lin Jun came out and negotiated the agreement in just a few moments. Lin Jun waved his pen and wrote his name on the contract. The 30 billion transfer was immediately transferred to his account. From the beginning to the end of the donation, Lin Jun took less than 5 minutes. Lin Jun turned around and wanted to leave, but he was immediately surrounded by reporters. "Hello, Lin Jun. I'm a reporter from the Beijing Morning Post. Why did you make such a big move?" "Lin Jun, you said that you were kicked out of the Zephyr Martial Arts School. What's the story? Does it have anything to do with Dojo Master Yu Jinhua? I heard that you also came out of the Divine General Training Camp. Why did you donate at this time? Why didn't you come out on behalf of the Zephyr Martial Arts School? Do you have something against the Zephyr Martial Arts School?" Lin Jun stood there and smiled. "I just want to say a few things to everyone. First, I didn't leave the Zephyr Martial Arts School voluntarily. The Zephyr Martial Arts School didn't want me. You can check what I've done for the Zephyr Martial Arts School over the years and what kind of treatment I've received. Secondly, this donation is purely my personal idea. Martial artists are fighting outside to protect their homes and countries. Their lives are hanging on their belts, and they are in a precarious situation. Their loved ones cannot live without a basic living guarantee. I hope that this 30 billion can be put to good use. There's one more thing. If I were still in the Zephyr Martial Arts School, I wouldn't donate because my identity restricts me. I don't want to represent the Zephyr Martial Arts School. As for why I said this, Dojo Master Yu Jinhua's action just now has explained everything, hasn't it?" At this point, Lin Jun took 2 steps out of the crowd and went straight to the street. Soon, he disappeared into the crowd. When his figure was about to disappear, a martial artist present took the initiative to applaud Lin Jun. Then other martial artists, then the reporters, and finally even the people of the Zephyr Martial Arts School applauded Lin Jun. This was a true martial artist, a person worthy of respect. When the applause stopped, people looked back, but they could no longer find Yu Jinhua's figure. However, this wasn't a big deal. The reporters would use this as a pretext to write about it. It could be imagined that the internet, television, newspapers, etc. would be very lively tomorrow. Yu Jinhua was too ashamed to stay in the front. What happened today was too ugly. Not only did he lose face, but he also discredited the Gale Martial Arts School. When he returned to his room, he sat down on a chair and stared blankly at the ceiling. He did not know how things had turned out like this. Ding ling ling. The phone rang. Yu Jinhua took out his phone and looked at it. He was shocked because the person who called was Chun Fenglai. Mr. Chun. The phone came with a video feed. Chun Fenglai's figure appeared on the other end. Jinhua, do you want to destroy the fierce wind martial school? Chun Fenglai was sitting on a rocking chair in a blue casual outfit. A faint sentence made Yu Jinhua break out in a cold sweat. No, Mr. Chun, listen to me. What happened today was an accident. Say no more. Great divinity Master Gongsun, do tell me about it. You lost your mind for your good-for-nothing son and did stupid things time and time again. You have disappointed me. The sentence made Yu Jinhua realize that something was wrong. He had followed Chun Fenglai for many years and knew Chun Fenglai's temperament. If he said he was disappointed, then he was really disappointed. It was very likely that he would not give Yu Jinhua another chance. However, Yu Jinhua still wanted to fight for it. Mr. Chun, I was wrong this time. I hope you can give me a chance to make up for my mistakes. Jinhua, you have to remember that as a cultivator, you can't let your emotions get the better of you. If you focus on cultivation and advance to the star realm as soon as possible, you can have hundreds of sons, let alone one. At that time, you'll realize that the death of your son isn't a bad thing. Yu Jinhua nodded repeatedly, but he did not agree with Chun Fenglai's words. He was not a genius like Chun Fenglai. The star realm was almost his limit. Besides, now that he had Lin Jun, his inner demon, he would not have the chance to advance to the star realm if he did not get rid of Lin Jun. Of course, he could not say these words in front of Chun Fenglai. Yu Jinhua did not have the courage to speak to the world's #1 expert. This time, Fierce Wind is in a very passive position. I have already deposited 50 billion into his account. Take advantage of it. I will give you a chance. You know about the Cape Town incident, right? Yes, Cape Town has fallen. Yes. Now, China, the African Union, Brazil, India, and other countries have proposed to join the World War God Alliance. If the other 3 countries do not agree, the 4 of us will join the alliance. Therefore, the proposal has been passed. The War God martial artists will hold the War God Arena to determine the ranking of each country in the World War God Alliance. This time, we, Fierce Wind, will protect our reputation. Mr. Chun, please rest assured that we, Fierce Wind, will definitely take first place. I also believe in the strength of the Fierce Wind martial artists, but we can't be careless. The War God Arena is open to all war gods from level 1 to level 9. Those in the Star Realm are not allowed to participate. We have to fully explore talents. When I put you in this position, I saw your ability in this aspect. However, you actually drove away such an outstanding talent like Lin Jun. You are really a bastard. Yu Jinhua wiped the sweat from his forehead. Dojo Master, please rest assured. Even without Lin Jun, I guarantee that Fierce Wind will still be the most outstanding Fierce Wind. Chun Fenglai did not say much. He originally wanted Yu Jinhua to invite Lin Jun back, but after thinking that it was impossible for him to sincerely invite Lin Jun, he temporarily gave up and hung up the phone. Yu Jinhua then sat down awkwardly. He had no time to care about Lin Jun for the time being. After Lin Jun left Fierce Wind, he immediately went to a nearby trading company. This trading company was specially open to martial artists. The area where Fierce Wind Martial Arts School was located was a special area for martial artists. This trading company sold everything. Lin Jun had already set his eyes on a type of flying device. In order to return to Ice City quickly, Lin Jun needed his own flying device. Now that the flying saucer-type flying device was gradually entering the market, some especially rich martial artists had started to try to buy it. However, there was a top-notch flying device, the Black Ghost, which very few people could afford. There were only 10 of them in the country, and each one was sold for 10 billion. As a flying device, it was a little too expensive. If it was in the past, Lin Jun would not buy it. However, this time, he did not hesitate and paid for a Black Ghost on the spot. This flying device was about 20 meters in diameter and was shaped like a flying saucer. There was an automatic flight control system inside, and it was said that it could reach a maximum altitude of 50,000 meters, almost breaking out of the atmosphere. Its speed of 10 times the speed of sound made it impossible for any mutant birds to catch up with it. It also had its own cloaking device and atomization device. The so-called atomization device was to spray clouds and disguise itself as a cloud. It could hover in the clouds without being discovered. The smell of the atomization could also drive away mutant birds. The flying saucer had its own railgun, which could be used to attack other flying devices. There was also a global satellite positioning system inside, which could receive radio stations from any country. The network signal would not be affected by the local environment. This flying device represented the highest level of flying devices on Earth. As far as Lin Jin knew, until the arrival of extraterrestrial civilization, there was no flying device that could surpass his. There was also a very important point. The interspatial ring that Lin Jun got from Yufeng could actually store this flying device. The interspatial ring was a little bigger than a basketball court, and its volume was also very large. It only took about 1/3 of the space to store the flying device, which was simply too convenient. First, he bought the 40 billion Vitality Potion, then donated 30 billion, then bought the 10 billion Black Ghost. He had spent more than 80 billion in total, which made Lin Jun secretly happy. In addition to the Black Ghost, Lin Jun also found 15 kilograms of liquid metal, which was worth 6 billion. Lin Jun did not hesitate to buy all of it. He only had about 35 kilograms of liquid metal in his hands before. Now that he had 15 kilograms, he had a total of 50. It was basically enough for everything. With more than 50 billion in his hands, Lin Jun was not short of money. After buying the Black Ghost, Lin Jun took off and left on spot. The flying device's built-in system would automatically contact the base city's air defense army and receive infrared scanning. When Lin Jun left Beijing, the army scanned the flying device and immediately let him go. As long as the person inside was not a wanted criminal, the army would not stop him. The distance between Beijing and Bingsheng was more than 1,000 kilometers, and the Black Ghost could reach it in half an hour. Looking at Beijing gradually fading away, Lin Jun sat in the Black Ghost and let out a long sigh. This time, he had given Yu Jinhua a hard slap, but he had also offended him. After returning to Bingsheng, the most important thing was to find a martial arts school. He did not know where he could be accepted. There was also a Ning. Lin Jun had always liked a Ning, and a Ning was very good to him. A Ning was the one who gave him the Psychic Shock secret manual. However, Su Mingwei had risked her life to save him many times. How could Lin Jun not be moved? He did not know how to explain this to a Ning. He was not willing to give up a Ning. Lin Jun never wanted to let down someone who was good to him. However, it was even more impossible for him to give up on Su Mingwei. That girl looked cold and aloof, but in fact, she was stubborn. Otherwise, she would not have died fighting against the invaders in his previous life. If Lin Jun really left her, she might do something stupid. After thinking about it for a while, Lin Jun did not want to think about it anymore. If he could not deal with these two girls after his rebirth, then he would have lived in vain. He cultivated his telekinesis in the Black Ghost cabin for a while. The scenery on the ground gradually enlarged, and Bingcheng finally appeared in his sight. Chapter 214, Jiangbei Villa District. The Black Wraith hovered above Lin Jun's villa, immediately attracting the attention of countless people. Many people in the surrounding villas took pictures with their phones and uploaded the images to the internet. This was the first time the Black Wraith appeared in Bingsheng City. First, it was expensive and very few people could afford it. Second, it had just been released and was not available in Bingsheng City. When Lin Jun bought it, this model had only been released for half a month. The flying saucer glided slowly and landed in the small square in front of the villa. Lin Jun walked out from it. With a wave of his hand, the Black Wraith disappeared into the spatial ring. Lin Jun walked back home. On the way, some people saw Lin Jun but did not recognize him. After all, he had disappeared for 3 years. Many of the neighbors in the villa district had changed. Some people recognized Lin Jun but didn't say anything. Now that the news of Lin Jun being banished by Lai Feng had spread like wildfire, a martial artist who didn't even have a dojo probably didn't have any future prospects. It was better not to talk to him. Lin Jun opened the door. The smell of food wafted out from the house. After not coming back for 3 years, Lin Jun took a deep breath. The smell of home was still the best. Dad, Mom, I'm back, Lin Jun shouted. Hearing Lin Jun's voice, footsteps came from the kitchen. Li Qin ran out first. When she saw Lin Jun, she immediately went over and hugged Lin Jun tightly. My son is finally back. Mom missed you so much. Lin Jun pretended to be calm as he walked out. However, he almost bumped into the door. He was also very happy that Lin Jun was back. Look at you, my child. You've been gone for 3 years without any news. You should at least give us a call. You've made me and your father worry. Hurry up and wash up. Look at you. You've lost so much weight. Mom will reward you later. Lin Jun had indeed lost some weight in the past few years. It was mainly because the food in the stellar fruit tree was too bad. After 3 years of eating hardtack and dried meat, it was impossible not to lose weight. Then I'll go pack up. The main thing is that I can't call you guys from that place. Lin Jun returned to his room and took out 2 new sets of clothes. Then, he took some toiletries and went to the bathroom. After taking a good shower, he changed his clothes and looked at himself in the mirror. He nodded with satisfaction. His spirit was different from his previous life. He also looked much more handsome than in his previous life. After walking out of the bathroom, Lin Jun went to the kitchen. He saw his dad. He immediately gave his dad a hug. Dad, I like the smell of your cooking. You're cooking. Shoo, shoo, shoo. You're already so big, yet you're still sticking to me. Aren't you ashamed? Go stick to your mother. Don't disturb my cooking. Let me try this prawn. Looking at the big red prawns cooked by her father, Lin Jun was really a little hungry. She reached out to grab one to try. Sigh, it's not even ripe yet. Hurry up and scram. Lin Jun smiled and retreated to the kitchen door. He waved his hand and a prawn flew over. He didn't care if it was hot or not. He ate it. Brat, you're even using that skill of yours at home. Lin Lia laughed as he spoke. Lin Jun walked out of the kitchen. Mom was setting the table and chairs. Lin Jun went to help. Son, in the 3 years that you weren't around, that Misty came by many times. Are you two dating? When I asked her, she was too embarrassed to say, but Mom could tell that she likes you. She's also pretty and quite compatible with you. Tell Mom, how long have you been dating? Lin Jun was confused. Which little Miss Li? Don't play dumb with me. Isn't she our old neighbor, Li Mengxi? When you were young, you liked to stick to her. Li Mengxi? Lin Jun was stunned. Then he narrowed his eyes. What was this woman trying to do? No matter what her purpose was, if she wanted to get something from his family, then she was wrong. However, Lin Jun's mother was relentless with her questions. Lin Jun couldn't tell her about the matters between warriors, so he could only helplessly say, Mom, you don't have to worry about my future. I have a girlfriend. When I have the chance in the future, I will bring her back for you to meet. You really have a girlfriend? Whose girl is it? What does she look like? She can't not be as good as Mengxi. Nowadays, genes are important. In short, the better the parents are, the better the child will be in the future. My son is so handsome. It won't be good if he finds a girl who is ugly. Forget it. I don't think she can be better than Mengxi. It's better to be safe. You are always running around outside. I don't see you all year round. If you can give me and your dad a grandson, you can go wherever you want. Hearing his mother start nagging again, Lin Jun had to take out his phone. On the screen was a photo of him and Su Mingwei. Mom, look, this is my girlfriend, your future daughter-in-law. See if she is ugly. Li Qin took the phone and looked at it. She was stunned. Oh, this girl looks... She is too. Is she still human? What do you mean by not human? Lin Jun smiled bitterly. No, Mom means she is too beautiful. She doesn't look like a real person. Old man, come and see your son's girlfriend. Why does she look a little familiar? Lin Jun ran out of the kitchen. Li Qin handed him Lin Jun's phone. He looked at it for a long time. She is too beautiful, but I also think she looks familiar. She looks like... Li Qin suddenly pointed at a poster of the Church of God on the wall. Isn't that her? Lin Jun also noticed that there was a poster of the Church of God in his house. In the picture, Su Mingwei was wearing a priest's robe and bathed in light. She looked wholly like an angel, but it seemed to be 3 years old. Su Mingwei looked the same 3 years ago. This is the saintess of the Church of God. Is she your girlfriend? Li Qin asked in surprise. Yes. She is a saintess and a martial artist. We met in the Divine General's training camp. Lin Lia looked at the phone for a long time. Did you Photoshop this? Are you trying to fool us? How could she be interested in you? Lin Jun raised his head angrily. Is your son that bad? Fine, fine. I'll send you a video call, and you'll know. Lin Jun took out his phone and video called Su Mingwei. Li Qin and Lin Jun were watching. Li Qin said to Lin Jun, "Don't include us in the video. We'll just watch secretly. Otherwise, she might feel uncomfortable." Lin Jun didn't put his parents in the camera's range. He knew what his parents were thinking. They just wanted to see if Su Mingyue was reliable. It was an internal test, but Lin Jun wasn't afraid of it. If Su Mingyue failed, no one would pass. The video call connected. On the other side of the video, Su Mingyue was sitting in front of a desk. Her long hair was tied behind her ears, as if she had just taken a shower. She was wearing a soft white dress. Under the orange light, she was extraordinarily beautiful. When she saw Lin Jun, she immediately smiled. "Idol, you're home." What are you doing?" Lin Jun hadn't seen Su Mingyue for a few days. He really missed her. "I'm reading a book." "What book?" Lin Jun asked. Su Mingyue picked up a book in the camera. It was called The Self-Cultivation of a Saintess. "Master told me to read this, but I've already read it hundreds of times. I don't want to read it anymore, so I secretly read this." She picked up another book. This one was called The Next Generation Cookbook. "You're secretly reading the cookbook. Are you thinking of cooking for me?" Lin Jun asked with a smile. "Yes. You're so greedy, so I want to learn how to cook for you in the future." Lin Jun sighed inwardly. This girlfriend of his who didn't know how to lie was really something. If it was any other girl, they might say something like, "I'm not cooking for you." But Su Mingyue wouldn't. She simply admitted it and even labeled herself as a greedy person. However, seeing Li Qin and Lin Lia laughing behind her, they were probably quite satisfied with this daughter-in-law. "Am I really that greedy?" Lin Jun defended himself. "You're still denying it. That day, you said you were going to eat me." Su Mingyue smiled and exposed Lin Jun. Lin Lia and Li Qin were shocked. Sweat appeared on Lin Jun's forehead. "That was a joke, a joke." "Yes, I know." "Lin Jun, the Divine General battle is about to start. Have you signed up?" "I'll sign up." Lin Jun had a headache over this. "Okay, I've signed up, but I don't know when it'll start. I heard that I have to wear a virtual reality helmet." Su Mingyue paused. "When are you going to fix the stargazing mirror?" I miss you a little." Su Mingyue's eyes were watery as she spoke. She bit her red lips and wanted someone to hug her and comfort her. "I'll try to be quick." Lin Jun saw that Li Qin was about to come over and talk. He quickly adjusted his angle. Su Mingyue was definitely not prepared for this, so it was better not to see her for the time being. "Bye, you heir. I'll bring you out of the church after I fix the stargazing mirror." Su Mingyue nodded and hung up the phone. "Brat, where's my daughter-in-law? Why didn't you let me see her? Is your mother so shameful? Can you stop messing around? Can't you tell what I mean? Your son wanted to eat her up, but obviously he didn't get to eat her. That girl looks tender. You're scaring her by baring your teeth and brandishing your claws." "Who?" "Old man. Who did you say was making threatening gestures?" Li Qin walked toward Lin Lia. Just then, the smell of burnt food came from the kitchen. Lin Lia quickly ran to the kitchen to escape. "Mom, you saw it this time. You won't ask me to find a girlfriend anymore." "I won't. This is enough." "Huh. The saintess of the divine sect might be my future daughter-in-law. If I tell others, they'll be so jealous." Li Qin had already fallen into her fantasy. She originally wanted to ask Lin Jun about Su Mingyue, but the guard said that someone was looking for Lin Jun. His name was Zhao Yang. Chapter 215. Lin Jun let Zhao Yang and the others in. When his parents heard that Lin Jun's friends were here, they immediately prepared 2 more dishes. Zhao Yang and the others entered the house and greeted Lin Jun's parents first. Then, they all went to the study. As soon as they entered the study, Shirley said angrily, "Tong Yuehu is a bastard. He actually kicked Lin Jun out. I knew this kid was up to no good." Lin Jun looked at the 3 of them. 3 years had passed, and they still hadn't reached the warlord realm. Shirley and Zhao Yang were 9th-level warlords, and Gao Yin was 8th-level warlord. Moreover, they didn't compress their Dantian Qi. The few experts from back then had already been left far behind by Lin Jun. Gao Yin continued, I think it's good that Lin Jun isn't in live phone. Lin Jun, you were so cool when you donated money in Beijing. Now, many warriors are supporting you on the internet. Lin Jun, you Jinhua really lost face this time. Many people are saying that live phone isn't good. Lin Jun nodded. I hope this incident won't affect you guys. Zhao Yang waved his hand. Brother Lin, we've known each other for a few years. Don't be so polite. We aren't even warlords, so we won't be affected. The ones who will be affected are the higher-ups. You don't know that once your donation came out, Tong Yuehu immediately organized a meeting with the warlords. It seems like they're going to go all out to compete for the Divinity General Arena. Lin Jun asked, how will the Divinity General Arena compete? Have they figured out the rules yet? It's almost done. I heard that there will be 2 stages, the preliminaries and the knockout stage. It will use virtual technology. Any warlord recommended by a dojo, church, military, or base city can sign up. Every warlord who signs up will get a virtual helmet that connects their brain waves to the virtual world. They can fight in the virtual world. That's right. I've also heard about the use of virtual technology. Moreover, this technology is connected to the entire world. At that time, not only will we be able to see China's war gods, we will also be able to see war gods from all over the world. However, we won't have that opportunity. Gao Yin smiled. That's right. The War God Arena, this time, is jointly organized by the 7 countries in the world. Not only will it determine the ranking of each country in the World War God Alliance, but there will also be generous rewards for the war gods who perform well. What reward? I hear it's an astral tool as a reward, and there are quite a lot of reward methods. It seems that passing through the preliminaries will have a reward. The higher the ranking in the knockout rounds, the greater the reward. The specific circumstances will only be known when the time comes. Hearing that there was an astral tool as a reward, Lin Jun's eyes immediately brightened. The higher the ranking, the more astral tools would be rewarded. He still had to participate in this war god arena, and he just so happened to need them to repair the star observation mirror. Zhao Yang then said, Lin Jun, you don't have a dojo to recommend you right now, so you can't participate in the war god arena. You need to immediately find another dojo. The deadline for registration is only 3 days. If you can't register, that will be too much of a pity. Lin Jun shook his head. This dojo is not easy to find. Live Phone chased me out, and normal dojos wouldn't dare to accept me. Perhaps Chong Feng and Dragon Slayer would, but these 2 dojos have a grudge against me. They can't wait to hit me when I'm down. How could they accept me? As for the military, government, and church, they all have to recommend their own people. I didn't join the military, nor did I participate in politics. I'm also not a member of the clergy. My status is not qualified, so it's even more impossible. Zhao Yang and the others were silent. They really couldn't help with this matter. Finally, Shirley thought about it and said, Lin Jun, I think there's a dojo that might accept you, but it depends on whether you're willing to go. Which dojo? Lin Jun asked. Jade Sky. After Shirley finished speaking, Zhao Yang paused for a moment. Jade Sky, the one that's ranked 10th? I don't think that's possible. That dojo has a bad reputation. Although they've been more honest in the past 2 years, that dojo still has a grudge against Lin Jun. How can they accept him? Shirley shook his head. You're wrong. Jade Sky might really accept Lin Jun. That dojo doesn't have any war god level experts other than Yang Jianying. They're also struggling to survive in Bingsheng. They've already lost everything. Now, they're recruiting war gods everywhere, but no one wants to go. If Lin Jun goes, he might be a timely help. I believe that Yang Jianying won't be jealous of what happened in the past. After all, he also wants the dojo to have a good development. I think that the matter of recruiting Russians is understandable. Zhao Yang looked at Lin Jun. Brother Lin, what do you think? Lin Jun thought for a moment and nodded. I'll go. Why wouldn't I go? I'm all alone anyway. It doesn't matter which dojo I go to. What's important is that I want to participate. All right, since you've agreed, I'll contact them for you. Shirley patted his chest as he took on the responsibility. At this time, the meal downstairs was ready. Lin Jun invited a few old friends to drink together. Shirley and the others didn't come empty-handed. They brought a lot of ready-made, delicious food and wine. The few of them ate with Lin Jun. Everyone enjoyed themselves to the fullest. During the meal, Lin Jun mentioned that he might need to move. Because he was no longer a member of Lai Feng, this mansion will be taken back in a few days. He needed to move to another place. Zhao Yang immediately told Lin Jun that there were many empty mansions in Jade Sky Dojo. If Lin Jun's matter was settled, he could move there. After the meal, Zhao Yang and the others said goodbye. Lin Jun returned to the living room and took out the vitality potion for his parents. Mom, Dad, drink these 2 bottles. I'll help you recuperate in the next few days. It will make you many years younger. You can even start practicing martial arts. Lin Lie and Li Qin looked at the vitality potion in disbelief. They didn't expect such a magical thing to exist in the world. In this era, almost everyone dreamed of becoming a martial artist. However, they didn't have the conditions to do so. They could only live the lives of ordinary people. They didn't expect that when they were old, their son would tell them that they could practice martial arts and even become a martial artist. How could they not be surprised? Li Qin said hesitantly, "Can we do it? I wanted to practice martial arts when I was young, but now I'm so old." Mom, don't worry. This bottle of potion can restore the vitality of human cells. After you drink it, although you won't become geniuses, I promise that you will be able to live young. However, you will also have to work hard. In the future, you won't be able to play mahjong or take a walk. You have to train hard. Lin Jun was right. Even if Lin Lie and Li Qin had him to take care of them, and they didn't have to worry about a lot of resources, it still took a lot of hard work for a warrior to advance to the warlord stage. Seeing that Li Qin was still hesitating, Lin Lie grabbed a bottle of vitality potion. What are you hesitating for? Don't you want to live a few more years? Let's not talk about anything else. When your son gets married and has grandchildren in the future, you won't even be able to take care of them. I still want to accompany my grandchildren for a few more years. It would be best if I have many grandchildren in the future. For this, I'll drink this bottle of potion, even if it's poison. After speaking, Lin Lie drank the vitality potion in one gulp. Upon hearing this, Li Qin's eyes immediately became firm. That's right. My daughter-in-law is so beautiful. If I go shopping with her in the future, she will compare me to an old woman. As her mother-in-law, I can't be too bad. It's just cultivation. For the sake of my daughter-in-law and grandson, I'll go all out. Li Qin also drank the vitality potion in one gulp. Upon hearing the reason why the 2 elders wanted to practice martial arts, Lin Jun didn't know whether to laugh or cry. If it weren't for Su Mingyue, they probably wouldn't want to drink this potion. However, this was also good. At least this could strengthen their confidence in practicing martial arts. They didn't need to have high achievements. As long as they could reach the realm and prolong their lifespan, that would be enough. After taking the vitality potion, Lin Jun and Li Qin's bodies began to change. As they grew older, their body functions would decline and their cells would fail. Now that they were injected with the potion, they began to regain their vitality. This process required someone to guide them. Therefore, Lin Jun closed the door to the house and didn't receive any visitors. He began to focus on taking care of his parents. Cell recovery was a painful process. Lin Jun originally thought that the 2 elders wouldn't be able to endure it. However, whenever his parents couldn't endure it any longer, they would comfort themselves by thinking of their daughter-in-law and grandson. They actually managed to endure the process. For 2 whole days, Lin Jun didn't leave the house. He focused on taking care of his parents. After 2 days, the potion was completely absorbed. The 2 elders had completely changed. Lin Lie's back was no longer bent, and his hair was no longer white. Li Qin's leg ailment was also cured. The wrinkles on her skin had also disappeared. She looked almost 20 years younger. People would believe that she was less than 30 years old. Lin Jun looked at his father with a smile. "Dad, look at how young and handsome you are now. If we go out together, people will believe us if we tell them that you are my elder brother." "Brat, are you looking for a beating?" Although Lin Lie said that, he was still looking at himself in the mirror. He had never felt so good before. He felt that his whole body was filled with energy. He really wanted to practice martial arts now. Li Qin changed into a new set of clothes. She squeezed Lin Lia away and looked at herself in the mirror. This is really like a dream. I seem to have returned to the time when I was in my 20s and still unmarried. Old man, don't you think I'm pretty? Pretty? You look like a fairy. Lin Lia complimented without any shame. In fact, Li Qin and Lin Jun were both good-looking. Otherwise, Lin Jun wouldn't be so handsome. Now that they had returned to their younger days, they were both good-looking. Li Qin twisted her body. I don't dare to call myself a fairy. Only my future daughter-in-law is qualified. However, if we were to compare ourselves with the people we know, I still have the confidence to beat them. Do you think we should go out for a walk and see if there's still people who recognize us? Lin Lia was also a little tempted. The old couple was so excited that they really went out for a walk. Lin Jun didn't want to dampen their spirits. After this, they would work hard to cultivate. Chapter 216. Lin Jun hadn't been to Millennium Time Bar for 3 years. The interior decoration hadn't changed much, and there were still many warriors here. In a corner of the hall on the first floor, Lin Jun and Yang Jianying were drinking opposite each other. Yang Jianying handed a document to Lin Jun. Brother Lin, take a look. Azure Sky has nothing to offer now. We only have these conditions. If you agree, sign it, and you'll be a member of Azure Sky. Lin Jun took the document from Yang Jianying's hand and flipped through it a few times. There was nothing special about the document. The villa provided to Lin Jun was the largest and best in the entire Azure Sky. It was even much better than the one Lin Jun was living in now. However, the salary was pitifully low. It was only 500,000 yuan a month. This was even worse than an ordinary warlord salary. It wasn't the treatment of a warlord at all. Yang Jianying said somewhat embarrassedly, Brother Lin, I made a mistake back then and recruited a few Russians. Now my reputation is bad. The dojo is not well managed, and I don't have any businesses under me. Moreover, I know you are rich. You could spend a huge sum of 30 billion yuan in Beijing. You don't care about this salary, Lin Jun smiled. I think it's good. Give the 500,000 yuan to my parents every month. Moreover, Brother Yang also gave me such a big villa. It's my duty. It's also a little compensation. Yang Jianying saw that Lin Jun agreed and quickly signed the contract. The contract took effect. Lin Jun was a little emotional. He was a warrior of Azure Sky in his previous life. He didn't expect to return to Azure Sky after going around in circles in this life. Yang Jianying took out her phone and called the registration office of the Warlord Alliance. I'm Yang Jianying from Ice City Azure Sky. I'm registering the warlord of our dojo. Lin Jun. Yes. That's it. She hung up the phone. Brother Lin, it's done. The time is just right. The registration will end an hour later. How many people signed up in our dojo? The Jade Sky of this life was very different from the one Lin Jun knew in his previous life. There are almost no familiar faces here. To tell you the truth, you're the only one who signed up for Jade Sky. Originally, I thought that if I couldn't find anyone in the end, I would have to do it myself. Sigh. Fortunately, you're here. Otherwise, I would have embarrassed myself. Yang Jianying was only an 8th grade war god. Moreover, she had the status of a dojo master. It was easy for others to criticize her for registering. If she didn't get a good result, it would be a great loss of face. Then does dojo master know that the rules of the war god arena have been set? Yes, it's all on the internet. Lin Jun had been busy with his parents' affairs for the past few days, so he didn't see anyone. He didn't know what was happening on the internet, so he took out his phone to check. As expected, the rules of the war god arena had already been set. All recommended war gods in the world could sign up. Everyone would get a virtual helmet and enter the virtual map to fight. The location of the virtual map was proposed by the Star God sect and decided upon by all the countries in the world. It was called the Garden of Heaven. According to the Star God sect's description, a true god was incomparably huge. The starfruit tree was only a small tree in his garden. The huahua grass was taller and more luxuriant than the primitive forests on Earth. Flying at high altitudes was prohibited in the garden. Even if you were a spirit reader, the highest flying distance was only a dozen meters. This was to prevent spirit readers from taking shortcuts. When everyone entered the garden, they would randomly appear at the edge. The edge was a vast grassland with many mutated beasts. After crossing the grassland, one would enter a sea of flowers. There were countless dangers there. After crossing the sea of flowers, there was a small stream. Of course, the small stream here was a large river. It was also a very dangerous area. After crossing the large river, the warriors were close to the end of the virtual map. As long as they crossed the large river, they would reach the end of the virtual map, the Garden of Heaven. There were a total of 1,024 spots in the Garden of Heaven. Every war god could leave their name on a spot. After leaving their name, they passed the preliminaries and could leave the virtual map. There were also some gemstone fragments in the virtual map. They were divided into 3 types: ruby, sapphire, and topaz. 10 ruby fragments in the virtual map could be exchanged for a low-grade astral weapon. 10 sapphire fragments could be exchanged for a mid-grade astral weapon. 10 topaz fragments could be exchanged for a high-grade astral weapon. Even if they couldn't collect enough gemstone fragments to exchange for an astral weapon, they could be recycled. Ruby fragments could be recycled for 10 million each, sapphire fragments for 100 million each, and topaz fragments for 1 billion each. This was mainly to balance out the warriors who couldn't pass the preliminaries. If they didn't pass the preliminaries, they wouldn't be rewarded. If they could get some gemstone fragments, it would be a compensation for them. The 1024 warriors who passed the preliminaries would enter the knockout round. After the preliminaries, it wouldn't be long before the knockout round. Every round of the knockout round would give a reward. Entering the knockout round would give a low-grade astral weapon as a reward. Entering the top 512 would give 3 low-grade astral weapons as a reward. Entering the top 256 would give 5 low-grade astral weapons as a reward. Entering the top 128 would give 1 mid-grade astral weapon. Entering the top 64 would give 3 mid-grade astral weapons. Entering the top 32 would give 5 mid-grade astral weapons. Entering the top 16 would give 1 high-grade astral weapon. Entering the top 8 would give 3 high-grade astral weapons. Entering the top 4 would give 5 high-grade astral weapons. Entering the champion and runner-up would give 1 top-grade astral weapon. And the person who won the championship would obtain an additional best-grade astral tool. Of course, there was a time gap between the preliminaries and the knockout round. 3 months after the preliminaries, the knockout round would officially begin, and the preliminaries would start 3 months later. During this time, the War God Alliance would need to adjust the virtual world system and perfect the map. The fight starts 3 months later. Lin Jun looked at this rule and was secretly excited. If he could pass the preliminaries and enter the top 4, then he would almost certainly be able to collect 10 high-grade astral weapons. Yes, 1 month later. But forgive me for being blunt. Brother Lin, although your strength isn't bad, your realm is still a bit low. I know you're invincible in the warrior and general stages, but the war god world is different. The gap between a high-level war god and a low-level war god isn't small. Your current late-stage level 3 strength isn't enough. It's almost impossible to get a good ranking in the tournament. I'm afraid even passing the preliminaries would be a problem. Lin Jun nodded. Of course he knew this. A level 3 war god couldn't compete with high-level war gods. With Lin Jun's current strength, he could defeat a normal intermediate war god. He wasn't even afraid of elite war gods. But what about high-level war gods? Elite high-level war gods? From his point of view, let alone the current him, even if Yu Jinhua, who was at the Star Realm, participated in this war god tournament, he wouldn't be able to become the champion. He might not even be able to enter the top 4. This was because in Lin Jun's memory, other countries had a few especially strong war gods. They would definitely stand out in this tournament. There were still 3 months before the preliminaries. After the preliminaries, there would be another 3 months before the elimination round. Lin Jun's current priority was to increase his strength and ensure that he could pass the preliminaries. But after reaching the war god realm, it wasn't that easy to increase his strength quickly. Lin Jun began to recall his memories from his previous life. Where could he go to make his strength increase by leaps and bounds? Yang Jinying saw that Lin Jun was thinking and didn't think too much about it. He only said to Lin Jun, "Brother, I won't say too much. Don't worry and just do your best. Since there aren't many people in Jade Sky right now, I still think highly of your potential. Even if you didn't perform well in this War God tournament, you will definitely have a shocking performance in the future. Thank you, Dojo Master. Don't mention it, Dojo Master. I'll be leaving now. The helmet will be sent to your home tomorrow. You just have to wear it on time 3 months later. Okay, there's one more thing. I'm now the War God of Jade Sky Dojo. I have the qualifications to explore the ancient god ruins, right? Of course you have the qualifications. However, the ancient god ruins are too dangerous. They are all disaster areas when meteor showers fall. The environment inside is very harsh. Moreover, there are only 2 ancient god ruins closest to our north. One is Chongbai Mountain, and the other is Wadalian Pond. If you really want to go, I suggest you go to Chongbai Mountain. It's best if you find a few companions. If you don't go too deep, you might have a chance to obtain 1 or 2 astral tools. What if I say I want to go to Wadalian Pond? Lin Jin smiled and said, What? Go to Wadalian Pond? Are you crazy? That place isn't fun at all. There are no astral tools there. Moreover, the mutated poisonous insects there are at least B rank. Going there is no different from seeking death. You should just give up on that idea. Hee, I'm just joking with the dojo master. I know what I'm doing. That's good. Don't be reckless. If something happens to you, there will be no one left in my Jade Sky Dojo. Understand. I have one more thing to ask of the dojo master. I've bought vitality potions for my parents so that they can start cultivating again. Please help me find 2 warrior rank instructors to supervise their training. Vitality potion? You can even afford something like that. Brother, you're awesome. Yang Jining gave Lin Jin a thumbs up. This was just a small matter. He even had no problem helping Lin Jin move. Yang Jining also acted quickly. The next day, Lin Jin's family moved from the villa of the Strong Wind Dojo to the villa of the Jade Sky Dojo. This villa was the largest and best. Moreover, there was no one in the Jade Sky Dojo now. The surrounding villa area was deserted, as if it was Lin Jun's private territory. The 2 level 9 warriors sent by Yang Jining arrived quickly. One was a man, and the other was a woman. They would teach Lin Liye and Li Qin how to cultivate so that they could enter the warlord stage as soon as possible. Lin Jun also gave a lot of money to send all kinds of training equipment and cultivation herbs. He tried his best not to let his parents' cultivation be delayed by these things. After arranging everything, Lin Jun called Ning. However, the person who answered the phone was a Ning's personal assistant. She said that a Ning had been arranged by her family to leave Bingqing 2 years ago. No one knew where she went. Lin Jun also called Su Mingwei. Su Mingwei told Lin Jun that Gong Sun Do wanted to give her a secret special training so that she could compete in the God of War arena. She did not know how to do the special training. After exchanging a few words with Su Mingwei, Lin Jun hung up the phone. With the special training of Gong Sun Do, an expert in the meteor stage, Su Mingwei's improvement would definitely be rapid. In that case, Lin Jun could not delay. Chapter 217. Wadalian Pond was located 1,000 miles north of Ice City. It was originally a group of volcanoes. 5 of the volcanoes were connected to each other, so it was called Wadalian Pond. When the Leonid meteor shower descended, Wadalian Pond was a disaster area. Countless meteors bombarded the landscape and created many unique climate features. This volcanic area had 2 volcanoes that would erupt all year round. The climate was also extremely bad. Storms raged and covered in thick smoke and volcanic ash, so no one dared to go near. Many creatures inside had mutated and formed a unique group. The creatures here were originally poisonous insects. These poisonous insects were used to the conditions here and didn't go outside. The creatures outside didn't want to come here either, so they didn't go out and didn't go in. That was how the ancient god ruins were formed. Very few people would come to Wadalian Pond because not only was the climate here bad, but there were no astral tools. The astral weapons were brought by meteors. Lin Jin knew that it was a broken planet that brought many extraterrestrial items to Earth. However, in the Wadalian Pond area, not a single astral weapon was brought over. Therefore, no war gods would come here to look for trouble. There was once a war god team that didn't believe it and entered Wadalian Pond from the entrance. They went through 4 volcanoes in a row. Out of 10 war gods, only 1 came out alive. They didn't get anything. Wadalian Pond's bad name spread from then on. It was called the most useless ancient god ruins. But Lin Jun knew one thing. In his previous life, not long before the fall of Bing City, the secret of Wadalian Pond was discovered. The Ministry of Science and Technology found out that the creatures in Wadalian Pond had a special characteristic. The crystals in their brains could be combined with another type of drug to produce powerful dark energy, which could replace dark energy stones for the god of war to use. If a war god wanted to level up, other than accumulating years of training, they had to absorb dark energy stones. Now, people had discovered the use of dark energy stones. Lin Jun had bought a dozen of them, using the convenience of buying meteorites. Now, they were all in the interspatial ring. However, it wasn't easy for him to buy more dark energy stones. The market price was sky high, but the supply still couldn't meet the demand. As a result, the ancient god ruins of the 5 Dalian Ponds instantly became a hot commodity. Countless war gods flocked here. Although they could not obtain astral tools here, they could obtain crystals that could catalyze dark energy and replace dark energy stones to cultivate. This was simply a holy land for leveling up. Moreover, people also found a special meteorite at the bottom of each of the 5 pools. These 5 meteorites were the true treasures of the 5 Dalian pools. The dozens of dark energy stones in Lin Jun's hands were enough for him to advance to the 4th grade war god level, but it was still far from enough. That was why he had to come here. Before leaving, Lin Jun bought a lot of potions and concocted them according to the memories of his previous life. He filled a few large buckets, then bid farewell to his parents and went to Wadalian Lake. The black specter descended from the clouds. There was no need to specifically search for it. Even from 100 miles away, it could be seen. The volcanic ash that covered the sky did not disperse. From afar, it looked like an incomparably huge black mountain that connected the sky and the earth. The volcanic ash was also strange. It condensed here and did not disperse everywhere. The thick black color made it so that no creature was willing to go near it. We're here. This is the 5 Dalian Ponds. The volcanic ash is the natural barrier between the ancient god ruins and the outside world. No matter who wants to enter, they can only enter through the entrance of the first volcano. Otherwise, the thick volcanic ash would suffocate them to death. However, after entering, the volcanic ash would weaken a lot. At least, it would allow them to breathe. This is the magical part of the 5 Dalian Ponds. Lin Jun's black specter drew a circle and arrived at the entrance of the 5 Dalian Ponds. When he arrived at the entrance, there was a monitoring station set up by the warrior union. Every ancient god ruins could not be entered casually. There must be a recommendation and a fee must be paid. For example, the Changbai Mountain ruins had more than 100 warrior union members stationed there to manage the entry and exit. But at the 5 Dalian Ponds, there was only one person and it was rotated every month. No one was willing to stay in this desolate place. Not to mention bird poop. There was not even a bird to be seen. It was almost as if no one had come here for years. So when Lin Jun arrived, the warrior in charge was even sleeping in the small house and did not notice Lin Jun's arrival. It was not until Lin Jun knocked on the window that the warrior woke up in a daze. "What are you doing?" "I want to enter the 5 Dalian Ponds." "Do I have to pay a fee?" "Oh, you want to go in?" "Yes, I want to go in." "Okay, prove it to me." This is the ancient god ruins. People who are not from the martial arts dojo or the military church are not allowed to enter. Lin Jun gave him the martial arts dojo certificate. He was now the Azure Sky War God. Although he was only ranked 10th in Ice City, he was still qualified to enter. "Okay, you pass. 1 million. Lin Jun paid the 1 million entrance fee and then entered the 5 Dalian Ponds under the warrior's gaze. The entrance was located at the foot of the first mountain. There was a natural mountain tunnel here. On one side of the tunnel was the outside world, and on the other side was the forbidden area. Lin Jun walked into the tunnel. Bursts of wind blew from the tunnel, bringing with it thick smoke and sparks. It was extremely suffocating. Lin Jun directly activated his spiritual force shield and stared at the thick smoke and sparks as he advanced. After walking for about 20 minutes, his eyes lit up and he finally walked out of the mountain tunnel. What kind of place is this? Lin Jun looked up and saw that the sky seemed to be covered by a black cover. Thick smoke up to 10 kilometers thick wrapped around the 5 Dalian ponds. It was like an independent world. In front of him was a group of volcanoes. The mountain on the far left was called the Burning Mountain. It was constantly spewing out flames and smoke. Even from afar, he could feel a heat wave blowing on his face. In the distance on the right, there was also a Black Dragon Mountain. The amount of black smoke spewing out was no less than the Burning Mountain. There was a choking smell of sulfur in the air. After staying here for a while, he felt that his breathing was a little difficult. The place where he had passed through the tunnel was a rocky area. The ground was covered with bare brown rocks that were undulating. Some of them were like pillars, some were like houses, and some were like people. It was a mess. When he stepped on them, he could feel a slight heat. This place was called Dragon Gate Stone Stronghold. Lin Jun walked forward. The first volcano where the 5 Dalian ponds were located was about 20 kilometers away. Most of the environment in this area is very bad. Only the 5 volcanic lakes of the 5 Dalian ponds are slightly better. Moreover, there are a lot of mutated poisonous insects here. It's just that the level of the mutated beasts here is very high. The lowest is B class. The highest mutated beasts I killed before were B class. I can't compete with A class at all. Now that I'm here, I have to be careful. There are even S-class mutated beasts here. Lin Jun put on a cloud. The scorching temperature on the ground did not affect him. He began to walk forward. After walking for about 5 kilometers, he walked out of the rocky area and stepped on the soft soil. Just a few steps, Lin Jun suddenly felt that the ground was a little loose. There's a mutated poisonous insect. Just as Lin Jun had this thought, the ground suddenly broke open. A fiery red giant centipede bared its fangs and claws and bit at Lin Jun. Just the part of the centipede that was exposed above the ground was 5 meters long. It was even thicker than a gasoline barrel. Its huge fangs and claws were shining brightly. When it opened its bloody mouth, it was enough to swallow Lin Jun whole. A-class mutated beast. Thanks to the cloud stepping shoes, he could fly without a shield. Lin Jun's body rose into the air. He narrowly dodged the centipede's fierce attack. The astral tool, Overlord Spear, appeared in his hand, and he ruthlessly stabbed at the centipede's head. Dang! The tip of the spear pierced the centipede's back. Sparks flew, and a shallow mark was drawn on the centipede's back. What a hard carapace! Although I didn't use all my strength, this is still an astral tool. I actually couldn't pierce through it. The centipede finally revealed its full appearance. Its body was about 12 to 13 meters long, and it had hundreds of legs. When it came out, it stirred up sand and stones. With a wave of its tail, a large amount of sand and stones came flying at Lin Jun. Lin Jun hurriedly activated his protective barrier. These sand and stones were like bullets bombarding the barrier. Pung, pung, pung sounds rang out, and it made Lin Jun's mental power tremble for a while. Soon after, a second wave of sand and stones came flying at him. Lin Jun stepped on the cloud and rose up again. His body was more than 30 meters in the air. Bastard, I'm so high up in the air. Can you still hit me? Unexpectedly, the centipede's body suddenly arched and shot up. It actually shot up dozens of meters and pounced at Lin Jun again. You're quite difficult to deal with. However, I already know your tricks. You can't threaten me. Just as the centipede saw Lin Jun suddenly disappeared. The next moment, he appeared at the centipede's abdomen. The Overlord Spear in his hand fiercely pierced out. Pooh! The centipede's abdomen didn't have such thick armor. Lin Jun's spear pierced through. Green blood gushed out. Lin Jun teleported again and arrived at the centipede's neck where it couldn't attack. Golden chi shrouded the tip of the spear, causing the Overlord Spear to instantly reach the strength of a middle-grade astral tool. Once again, he fiercely pierced down. The centipede let out a beast-like hiss. Its body landed on the ground, and its front claws quickly dug through the sand and stones. It actually wanted to escape underground. If I can let you escape, then I don't need to continue staying here. Stay here for me. Lin Jun once again teleported to the centipede's abdomen. Lowering his spear, he fiercely pierced through the wound with both hands. The centipede's abdomen was split open by Lin Jun's spear. The wound was more than 5 meters long. Huahua's green blood flowed out from the abdomen. At this time, Lin Jun finally saw what was called a centipede that didn't fall down even when it was dead. The centipede's eyes were dying. It was actually still wriggling into the sand and stones. Lin Jun was helpless. He simply grabbed the centipede's hind legs and used a lot of strength to pull this dying A-grade poisonous insect out of the sand. Announcement: App for Android, Apple's exclusive version. Farewell to all advertisements. Please follow the official WeChat account to download and install. Chapter 218. After killing the mutated centipede, Lin Jun didn't need to rest. The light energy in his body quickly recovered his Dantian chi and mental power. He picked up his spear and stabbed the twitching centipede a few more times, killing it completely. Luckily, I have the mental teleportation skill. Otherwise, this centipede wouldn't have been easy to deal with. As long as I lure the poisonous insects into the air, I can easily find their weakness. Lin Jun's spear jumped off the centipede's head and took out the crystal inside. No matter how disgusting the poisonous insects were, the crystal was still beautiful. Lin Jun put away the fiery red crystal. The dark energy stone can be used by any level of war god. Therefore, I have to keep my dark energy stone. I will use the poisonous insect crystal to level up during this period of time. Beginner level war god. The crystal of a rank B mutated beast should be enough. This centipede is rank A. I will keep it until I become an intermediate level war god. Just as Lin Jun was about to move forward, a few poisonous insects appeared in the distance. There was a small centipede, a swimming snake, and even a red toad the size of a tank. They are here. These rank B poisonous insects want to eat the centipede's corpse, but they are here to give me the crystal. Lin Jun became a war god. Dealing with rank B mutated beasts was no longer a problem. He immediately took out his spear and faced the insects. What? You said Lin Jun joined Azure Sky and signed up for the Divinity General Challenge? Tong Yuehu looked at the information in front of him and said in an unfriendly tone, Yes, Dojo Master. We have neglected Azure Sky. We have contacted the other dojos, including Eternal Wind and Tu Long, and they have agreed not to accept Lin Jun. We thought that Azure Sky Dojo was already struggling at death's door, and they also have a grudge against Lin Jun, so we didn't lower ourselves to find them. Enough. This is carelessness. Dojo Master Yu's order was very clear. He wants Lin Jun to stay in Bing City and not do anything. However, he still found the dojo. This is our negligence. In front of Tong Yuehu stood 2 war gods. They were both around 30 years old and were elders of the Zephyr sect. One was a 7th grade war god, while the other was an 8th grade war god. The 8th grade war god's name was Ma Yao, and the 7th grade war god's name was Wei Li. They were the 2 main forces of Bingchang City that were participating in the war god arena. Even Tong Yuehu had signed up. He was now a 9th grade war god, and he wanted to get a good result in the war god arena. Ma Yao opened his mouth and said, Hall Master, there shouldn't be any problems. Although Lin Jun has registered, he is only a 3rd grade war god. He won't be able to do much in the war god arena. He probably won't even pass the preliminaries and will be eliminated. Wei Li also nodded. It's best if we don't meet him. Otherwise, we'll personally eliminate him and avenge the Hall Master's nephew. Tong Yuehu's son, Hua, had lost face in the stellar fruit tree. His actions of robbing and assaulting a little girl were looked down upon by others. When Hua returned to Bingchang City, he was immediately expelled from the martial dojo by Dongfang Jun. Tong Yuehu didn't give up on his nephew. He hadn't spent any resources for the past few years. 2 months ago, he finally helped Hua advance to the war god realm. However, there was no need to think about compressing his Dantian. He could only be considered a fake war god. Just a few days ago, after Tong Yuehu assumed the position of Hall Master and held great authority, he actually summoned Hua back to Zephyr Sect after being expelled for 3 years. Furthermore, he registered him for the War God Arena. This matter caused many people to be dissatisfied, but they were all suppressed by Shinhua. When Ma Yao and Wei Li mentioned Shintu Hua's matter, Tong Yuehu waved his hand and said, "Don't make this matter public. However, let our people remember this. Once they meet Lin Jun, they should immediately take action. They must eliminate him. Dojo Master, don't worry. Although the virtual map is very large, the further you go, the smaller it gets. Our dojo has 40 to 50 war gods participating, so there will definitely be people who will have the chance to meet Lin Jun. We can't be careless. Although Lin Jun is a beginner-level war god, his Dantian Qi is compressed to a very high level. Normal intermediate-level war gods might not be his match. I have a feeling that letting Lin Jun participate in the Divine General Arena isn't a good thing. We have to stop him." After saying a few words, Tong Yuehu turned around and asked Ma Yao, "Have you been monitoring Lin Jun for the past few days?" "Yes, we've already received news that this kid is currently at Wadalian Lake." "Went to Wadalian Lake? Why are we going there?" Tong Yuehu was stunned for a moment before he suddenly realized that this was an opportunity. Ma Yao and Wei Li looked at each other and understood what Tong Yuehu was thinking. Ma Yao said, "Dojo Master, should we go and get rid of him right now?" "No, you definitely can't. Lin Jun's relationship with us has gotten so big that countless pairs of eyes are watching. A lot of dojos are going against us, like Changfeng and Corporation, etc. We can't leave any evidence behind. If we want to get rid of Lin Jun, we definitely can't use people from Bingxin. That will leave behind clues. If we want to make a move, we have to find someone unrelated to us." "Who's someone unrelated to us?" Ma Yao asked. "Of course it's a foreigner. Now that the internet is widespread, the roads between the headquarters cities can be restored. If a foreigner comes to Wadalian Lake and happens to get rid of Lin Jun, then we won't have anything to do with it. Dojo Master is wise. This is easy to do. There are a lot of bounty hunters on the internet right now. You can even hire a quasi-star realm fighter, but you need to make an appointment. To deal with Lin Jun, an advanced war god is enough. I'll do it right now." "Okay. Don't be afraid of spending money. Remember not to leak any information. If you can't hire a quasi-star realm fighter, then hire an advanced war god. We definitely can't let Lin Jun leave Wadalian Lake alive." Pu. After stabbing a few times, Lin Jun finally killed the last mutated toad. After taking out 3 grade B crystals, Lin Jun stopped at the Dragon Gate Stone stronghold and started to test the medicine. In his previous life, Lin Jun knew the formula for this test and prepared the medicine a long time ago. He took out a small test tube and first put the snake crystal inside. After putting in the medicine, the crystal shook and then started to dissolve into the medicine. After around 20 minutes, the energy inside the crystal started to evaporate completely. Bits of energy started to leak out of the test tube. Success! It is indeed effective. Although this thing's performance is not as good as the Dark Energy Stone, it's not much different. Let me try absorbing it. Lin Jun covered the test tube with one hand, and the energy started to enter his body. After around 2 minutes, there was nothing left in the test tube. Lin Jun opened his eyes and nodded slightly. "Not bad. It helped me take a small step forward from the late stage of rank 3. If I absorb these 2 more crystals, I will be able to reach the peak of rank 3. Lin Jun followed the same pattern and absorbed the remaining 2 crystals. Finally, his Dantian reached the peak of the 3rd grade War God realm. This place is indeed a treasure trove. Every mutated beast is a treasure. I just need to keep moving forward. I estimate that when I reach the first volcanic lake of Wadalian Lake, I will be able to advance to rank 4 War God. If I want to make a difference in the Divine General Arena, I need to be at least a rank 5 War God. I still have 3 months. Let's see what level I can reach." Lin Jun walked out of the Dragon Gate Stone stronghold and headed straight for the 5 volcanic lakes of Wadalian Lake. In his previous life, the special meteorites in the 5 volcanic lakes were all taken away by the extraterrestrial civilization. Lin Jun could still remember that the special meteorite in the first volcanic lake was a psychic meteorite. This meteorite could stimulate the growth of psychic energy. Lin Jun's current psychic energy was at the early stage of dark gold. It was considered very high among the beginner war gods, but it was not at the peak among the intermediate war gods. This was because Lin Jun's accumulation during the warlord stage was too strong. He directly skipped the rank of rank 1 or 2 war god and entered the late stage of rank 3. Compared to the current war gods who were in their 30s or even 40s, Lin Jun was still too young. Without fortuitous encounters, the growth of psychic energy would take a long time. Therefore, Lin Jun's outstanding psychic energy during the warlord stage did not have much of an advantage among the war gods. He could also patiently cultivate his psychic energy slowly. However, he was about to participate in the Divine General Arena, so it was too late for him to cultivate slowly. He was determined to obtain the psychic meteorite in Lotus Lake. Along the way, Lin Jun walked and stopped. Sometimes, he would be surrounded by a large group of rank B poisonous insects. Other times, he would be attacked by a few rank A poisonous insects. Under these circumstances, even Lin Jun had no choice but to retreat temporarily. However, his rank was also constantly improving during these battles. After 7 days in Wadalian Lake, Lin Jun did not advance at all. He was still near the Dragon Gate Stone stronghold. However, on the 7th day, he finally made a breakthrough. The Dantian Qi within his body began to surge. The boundary of the Dantian Qi that had been restricting Lin Jun for a few days began to expand. The dark star within his body began to revolve. Strands of energy were injected into it, causing its volume to increase. This volume could not be compared to the volume of the real world. A warrior's Dantian was another world. After condensing a star nucleus, the star nucleus in the warrior's Dantian world could evolve into the size of a star. As for Lin Jun's dark star, it already had the appearance of a star nucleus. It contained many types of energy and was Lin Jun's battle engine. The Dantian Qi revolved rapidly. Following a muffled rumbling sound, like a shockwave from an explosion, Lin Jun's Dantian began to expand once again. A layer of the armband that was restricting Lin Jun's advancement was broken by this wave of energy. This made Lin Jun feel that the sky in front of him was vast. Success! I finally succeeded in advancing. In 7 days, I advanced to the 4th grade War God stage. From now on, I'm an intermediate War God. I don't have any use for those rank B poisonous insect crystals. To advance from the intermediate level to the advanced level, I need at least a rank A poisonous insect crystal. I don't need to continue fighting these insects at the border anymore. Let's head to the Lotus Lake now. Lin Jun adjusted his breathing and stood up. He currently had more than 10 rank A poisonous insect crystals, but he didn't absorb them immediately. He had just advanced, so he still needed some time to settle down. The most important thing was to get his hands on the meteorite. Chapter 219. The guard at the entrance of Wadalian Pond was counting on his fingers as he waited for his replacement to arrive. A month had passed, but there was still no sign of his replacement. Could it be that he wasn't coming today? When I go back, I will definitely complain about him being absent from work. He actually made me stay in this damn place for one more day. Just as he was muttering, his eyes suddenly fell on something in front of him. After a white triangular aircraft landed, 2 Westerners walked out from it. It was a man and a woman. The man was tall and sturdy, and the woman was beautiful and charming with a hot body. The guard couldn't help but take a few more glances at her. This girl is hot. Looking at her really makes one's heart beat. The guard licked his lips. The 2 of them were wearing tight leather clothes as they walked towards the entrance. After the internet was restored a few years ago, every school started to learn different languages. Among them, Huaxia was the most widely used language. Basically, people from every country knew it. The people from Huaxia also knew other languages, so they had no problem communicating with each other. Especially for these warriors, after their brain was developed, learning languages was a piece of cake. When the man and woman reached here, the man first said to the guard, "I need to enter Wadalian Pond." "Oh, sure. The ancient gods' ruins are also open to foreigners. However, very few people come here. Please show your identification first. My name is Hansen. I come from the European Union's Madrid headquarters city. This is my companion, but she won't be going in this time. Hansen handed over a piece of identification to prove his identity. He was a member of the Madrid headquarters city's sacred dojo, a level 7 war god. Welcome, friends from the European Union. But how did you cross the Eurasian continent to come here? The guard asked out of vigilance. At this time, the Western girl came over. She swung her long golden hair, and a delicate fragrance floated over. Is this a question that must be answered? Oh, that's fine. It's not a must. The guard's eyes were a little straight. This girl had ocean-like blue eyes, long golden hair, fair skin, well-defined facial features, and a very beautiful figure. When she blinked her big eyes, the guard felt a little dizzy. Since it's not a must, then we refuse to answer. The girl said. The guard couldn't help but nod his head. He was a little captivated by this Western beauty. Then, Hansen, go ahead. How long will it take? It shouldn't take too long, but I heard that this place isn't small. It might take about half a month. It shouldn't take more than a month. You go back first. I'll call you when I come out. Remember to be careful. This mission is worth 3 billion. We can only succeed and not fail. If we fail, we will have to pay 5 times the compensation to the other party. Moreover, the young miss is now competing with AI Air. We have to work hard to accept this mission behind the young miss back. No problem. This mission is as simple as eating and drinking for me. I guarantee that I will contribute to Mrs. Unified Organization. Hansen spread his hands, indicating that he was very relaxed. Okay, bye-bye then. I'll go back now. Remember not to delay your participation in the War God Arena. Bye-bye. Don't worry, Alice. I will definitely get a good ranking in the War God Arena. Hansen patted his chest and promised the girl named Alice. Alice smiled and blew a kiss to the guard. Thank you, handsome Easter guy. Good luck. Good luck. The guard stared blankly at the girl as she left. That flirtatious waist and slightly swaying but made him a little absent-minded. Even after the girl boarded the aircraft and left, the guard still hadn't come back to his senses. At this moment, Hansen patted him on the shoulder. Hey, brother, don't lose your soul to her. She's a rose with thorns. Anyone who dares to touch her will definitely be stung black and blue. Don't blame me for not reminding you. WH. What? What does a foreigner like you know? I didn't mean that. Hurry up and go in. All right, pay 1 million. Hansen shrugged and swiped 1 million from the guard's card. Although the currencies of both parties weren't of equal value, one could pay according to the ratio here. 1 million Chinese yuan was about 700,000 euros. This Hansen whistled as he walked towards the mountain tunnel. As he walked, he said 1 million. I only need 1 million to earn 3 billion. It's so easy to earn money from Chinese people. Alice actually doesn't trust me. She really underestimates me. Hansen. Seeing Hansen's figure disappear, the guard muttered, Is this foreigner crazy? How can it be a 3 billion deal here? There is only a beginner-level war god inside. Do you think you can get 3 billion just by killing him? What nonsense! After a while, his replacement came. This guard was going back to the headquarters city to enjoy his life. He wouldn't be able to come back for a few more months. When he left, he was still thinking about the Western girl. He thought that she was really a sexy beauty. If she could give him a good time, he would die from happiness just thinking about it. A piece of volcanic rock was stepped down by Lin Jun. The rock at the top of the volcano wasn't as hard as he thought. However, he didn't pay attention to the falling rock at all. His gaze landed on the lake in front of him. Although the sky was filled with black smoke, the lake didn't look dirty. The black smoke didn't fall down. The entire lake was only about 3 to 4 kilometers in diameter. There wasn't a single wave. From afar, it looked like a huge sapphire. There was a bit of green on the lake. Those were lotus leaves. The lotus leaves here were incomparably huge. Each lotus leaf was like an open parachute. They were scattered all over the lake. The blue and green colors were quite close. If one didn't look carefully, it wouldn't be easy to notice. I'm finally here. I've finally arrived at the first volcanic lake. This is the Lotus Lake, where the Spirit Meteorite is. It's said that the Spirit Meteorite is at the bottom of the lake. However, I can imagine that the bottom of the lake won't be as calm as the surface. There might be some mutated poisonous insects waiting for me inside. I need to be careful. Lin Jun rose into the air from the lakeside and began to dive into the lake. At first, he flew at a height of 30 meters above the lake surface. He didn't discover anything. Lin Jun's courage gradually grew. He descended to a height of 20 meters. Still, he didn't discover anything. It can't be. Could it be that there aren't any mutated poisonous insects in this lake? If that's the case, wouldn't I be able to get the spirit meteorite today? Lin Jun descended again. 10 meters. It was still calm. 5 meters. There was still no movement. Seems like there really isn't anything. Then I'll land. First, I'll find a lotus leaf to land on. Lin Jun chose a lotus leaf and landed on it. However, just as he landed, something strange happened. The surrounding water pillars suddenly shot up into the sky, and the lotus leaves flipped over. Countless huge leeches rushed out like flood dragons, intertwining in the air. Their twisting bodies and wriggling suckers were enough to make one shudder. Not good. There are actually these things hiding under the lotus leaf. Every leech is an A-grade, mutated poisonous insect. I have to leave quickly. Lin Jun teleported 40 meters up. However, he still hadn't left the leech's attack range. A leech flashed past him, and a huge sucker grabbed at Lin Jun's body. Pung! The sucker produced a strong suction force. It was just like Lin Jun's gravity. Even though he was 5 meters away, Lin Jun was pulled into the sucker. Oh no, I was careless. These leeches' suckers can produce a suction force. Lin Jun felt his body go numb. These leeches' suckers contain poison. One by one, small needle-like thorns pierced into Lin Jun's skin and began to suck his blood. Lin Jun felt a sharp pain. However, he couldn't teleport because of the suckers. Moreover, against these mollusks, the spear was not very useful. He immediately put the Overlord spear into his spatial ring. The liquid metal at his waist turned into a long knife. He twisted his body and slashed at the sucker. Pooh! The leech's defense was not strong. With one slash, the huge sucker was cut off. However, before Lin Jun could get rid of the sucker, another strong suction force came. In an instant, Lin Jun's height was pulled down by 5 meters. He was once again trapped by another leech's sucker. This time, it was his legs that were trapped. Just as the blood-sucking thorns were about to pierce into his legs, Lin Jun swung his long knife again and cut off the sucker. He was fast, but the leeches were not slow either. Moreover, each leech had hundreds of suckers on its abdomen. As soon as Lin Jun cut off one, the second one immediately enveloped him. As the leech's body fell, Lin Jun cut off the fourth sucker and plunged into the water along with the leech. Oh no, if I'm dragged to the bottom by these things, I'm afraid I won't even need to fight. Just the blood-sucking poison will be enough to kill me. I have to leave quickly. Lin Jun could not care less about the poison that had begun to spread through his body. Since the leech's defense was not strong, his liquid metal transformed into 2 long knives. He began to brandish them with both hands, instantly cutting the suckers that were wrapped around him into pieces. Seeing that there were more suckers coming, Lin Jun simply raised his hand. Lightning photon. A strong electric current bloomed on Lin Jun's liquid metal long knife. In the conductive part of the water, it instantly attacked a large group of leeches. About a dozen leeches twitched violently. Lin Jun took this opportunity to suddenly soar into the sky and broke through the water surface. Then, he teleported up 30 meters and quickly turned around. The long knives in his hands slashed like a storm, cutting a leech that was chasing him into pieces. After teleporting again, Lin Jun had risen to a height of 70 meters and finally escaped the leech's pursuit. Waves of numbness spread through his body. Lin Jun did not dare to stay. He ran straight to a hidden spot by the lake. He staggered there and quickly swallowed the antidote that he had prepared. Chapter 220. As the effects of the medicine began to take effect, the feeling of being poisoned slowly receded. However, Lin Jun didn't plan to enter the Lotus Lake again. The current Lotus Lake was still too difficult for him. He needed to stay here for a period of time to stabilize his intermediate war god level and kill as many A-rank mutated beasts as he could. He would only return to the Lotus Lake after he stabilized his strength. After all, he had just broken through to the 4th grade war god level, and his level wasn't stable yet. This time, he was advancing a bit too rashly. In the following period of time, Lin Jun didn't go anywhere else. He rested by the lakeside and used 3 days to stabilize his level. Then he started to absorb the A-rank mutated poisonous insect crystals in his hand. These dozens of crystals helped Lin Jun to raise his cultivation level to the early stage of level 4. After absorbing the crystals, Lin Jun wasn't in a hurry to return to the Lotus Lake. Instead, he wandered around the area and started to kill A-rank mutated poisonous insects to obtain crystals. He could fly and teleport. As long as he didn't recklessly charge into a group of A-rank poisonous insects, he wouldn't encounter any danger. Just like that, more than 20 days passed. Lin Jun had hunted and killed hundreds of A-class poisonous insects. After absorbing the crystals one by one, his realm began to advance by leaps and bounds. After 28 days, Lin Jun finally made another breakthrough and reached the intermediate 4th grade war god level. Phew, it's about time, intermediate 4th grade. Now that my speed and strength have made another breakthrough, my mental power and Dantian energy have increased, it should be much easier to deal with those leeches. Also, I have thought of a way to enter the bottom of the Lotus Lake. It's time to give it a try. Lin Jun prepared himself and wanted to enter the Lotus Lake again. However, just as he was about to move, he saw a person flying towards him from the top of the mountain. Spirit Reader. Lin Jun squinted his eyes. This wasn't the Divine General Training Camp. There weren't that many Spirit Readers. According to Lin Jun's estimation, there shouldn't be any war gods wandering around the 5-Dalian Lake. After all, at this time, the secret of the poisonous insect crystals hadn't been discovered by the outside world. However, a spirit reader appeared in this place. Lin Jun couldn't help but be vigilant. He might be coming for him. Lin Jun discovered him. The spirit reader also discovered Lin Jun. He immediately increased his speed and flew towards Lin Jun. Since he had been discovered, Lin Jun had no need to hide. He held the Overlord Spear in his hand and waited for the opponent. The opponent's speed was very fast. After a short while, the distance between him and Lin Jun to within 100 meters. They could see each other's faces. Westerner. Lin Jun was stunned. He didn't expect the Western god of war to appear here. The Westerner quickly arrived in front of Lin Jun. He put away the shield with a cross at his feet. He sized up Lin Jun for a while, then picked up his phone and looked at it. He then laughed. Haha, you are Lin Jun. I didn't expect to find you so quickly. If I knew things would go so smoothly, I wouldn't have let Alice leave. I would have asked her to wait for me. Who are you? Lin Jun asked. I am Hansen from Madrid-Bay City. Lin Jun, you must remember this name because it was this person who sent you back to the embrace of the starry sky true god. Lin Jun also sized up Hansen. Lin Jun's height was close to 9 meters, but he was still a bit shorter than this person. This person's height was over 9 meters, and he was quite tall and sturdy. He was a 7th level war god. Lin Jun had some understanding of the enemy's strength. This Hansen gave him a dangerous feeling. Lin Jun, you are really young. You are a 4th level war god at such a young age. I can't help but say that you are a genius. A genius that is about to fall. Hansen said as he took out his sword. It was a Western sword with a guard. The sword had a blue radiance on it. It was a middle-level astral tool. Is that so? I don't think so. No matter who sent you here, you have done something stupid today. Lin Jun shook his Overlord Spear. He was not afraid of his opponent at all. He had already advanced to an intermediate-level war god. It wasn't impossible for him to challenge someone 3 levels above him. He wanted to give it a try. What a naive little guy. You don't know how powerful a 7th level war god who has compressed 8 levels of Dantian energy is. That is a true god. Before his voice faded away, Hansen suddenly burst forth. The Western sword in his hand turned into a poisonous snake in the blink of an eye. It enveloped Lin Jun's vital points in an instant. His attack stirred up strong winds and was as fast as lightning. Lin Jun immediately focused and prepared to defend himself. However, Lin Jun didn't care too much about it. This kind of powerful attack was completely within his range of defense. It seemed like he had overestimated this foreigner. However, before the tip of the sword arrived, the first thing that arrived was a mental attack. Bang! Lin Jun couldn't help but raise his head. This mental attack made him feel dizzy. His opponent's mental strength was not below his own. On the other hand, Hansen didn't seem to be affected. The sword in his hand didn't slow down. Lin Jun didn't have enough time to defend himself. He could only place the liquid metal in front of him. Pu. After a few sword flowers, Lin Jun was hit 3 times. Fortunately, the liquid metal intercepted Lin Jun and prevented him from getting injured. Hee. Well, lucky guy. I was careless this time. Although I hit you many times, none of them are fatal. Next time, I will pierce your chest with my sword. Seeing the slight change in his opponent's pupils, Lin Jun immediately teleported away without hesitation. He teleported a few dozen meters away, causing his opponent's mental attack to miss. Just like the information stated, you have the ability to teleport unpredictably. However, this is useless. Next time, I will interrupt your teleportation. Hansen pounced over. Lin Jun's teleportation was interrupted by his mental attack. Lin Jun was hit by the mental attack. He blocked it a few times and was almost injured. However, Hansen was still safe and sound. How is this possible? How can this guy not be affected by the mental attack's backlash? If he keeps using his mental attack like this, I will not be able to resist him unless my mental power is higher than his. This person is also at the early stage of Dark Gold, just like me. As if he saw Lin Jun's doubts, Hansen said with confidence, Lin Jun, you may have a lot of tricks up your sleeves. Unfortunately, you can't use them in front of me because you can't break my mental attack. Just wait for your defeat. Lin Jun carefully looked at Hansen at this time. He finally found a clue. Hansen was wearing a necklace around his neck. Moreover, it was not an ordinary necklace. It was actually a low-grade astral tool. A low-grade astral tool with mental defense. Not only could it resist the opponent's mental attack, it could also effectively prevent the backlash. If Lin Jun was not experienced and knowledgeable, he would not have discovered Hansen's secret. So that's how it is. With this mental defense astral tool, Hansen is almost invincible against people whose mental power is not as good as his. Even if I have a lot of tricks on my sleeves, it's useless if I can't resist the mental attack. He has a defensive astral tool, so the backlash is very small. However, I have to endure the mental attack again and again. This kind of battle is too unfair. Lin Jun made a prompt decision. Since he could not fight with force, he had to use his brain. He suddenly rose into the sky. Come on, Hansen, let's fight in the sky. Let's see if I will be afraid of your mental attack. Haha, good. No matter where you go, you can't escape. Also, your shoes are not bad. They are mine. Hansen also stepped on his shield and rose into the sky, attacking Lin Jun. Just as Hansen was about to use his mental attack, Lin Jun suddenly opened his hand. Thousands of rays of light lit up in his palm, causing Hansen to instinctively cover his eyes. Kill! Lin Jun suddenly teleported in front of Hansen, and a long spear in his hand shot out like a storm. Hansen lost the initiative and hurriedly blocked. He originally did not put Lin Jun in his eyes, but after a real fight, he immediately knew how terrifying Lin Jun was. The long spear was like a rolling river, and the attacks seemed to be endless. He had to do his best to block every time, but he could never see the end. The spear light was surrounded by electric light and golden chi. The two people fought for less than a minute, and Hansen was shot twice. Blood flowed from his shoulder and thigh. Damn it, this Eastern brat is so strong. If I didn't have a mental defense astral tool, I might have died here today. Lin Jun, enough. Boom. Lin Jun's spear pierced Hansen's abdomen, but a layer of astral tool armor appeared on the surface of his body. It was a mid-grade astral tool. It actually blocked Lin Jun's fatal spear. Hansen's body flew back dozens of meters, and the corner of his mouth was shaken by the impact. However, he quickly rushed back. Lin Jun, I was careless just now. This time, I won't give you any chance. Die under my mental attack. Seeing Hansen's desperate posture, Lin Jun secretly regretted in his heart. He did not expect the opponent to have an astral tool armor. Otherwise, the wave of attacks just now would have taken him down. The opponent had 3 astral tools for protection, especially one with a mental defense. Lin Jun admitted that he could not do anything to him for the time being. At this point, he could only use the last resort. Lin Jun's body swayed, and he quickly fell. Below was Lotus Lake. There was still some distance between the two people. Lin Jun flew in an arc and quickly approached the surface of Lotus Lake. Hansen was originally chasing closely, but when Lin Jun approached the surface of the lake, countless huge leeches soared into the sky and instantly surrounded Lin Jun. Hansen hurriedly stopped and almost rushed into the leech's attack range. Lin Jun, you are courting death. I will not die with you, Hansen shouted from the shore. At this moment, Lin Jun had already entered the water. After quickly cutting off a piece of suction cup, the liquid metal turned into a huge eggshell, wrapped Lin Jun in it, and began to sink into the lake. Chapter 221. This was a method that Lin Jun had thought of a long time ago. As long as he covered himself with the liquid metal, the leeches wouldn't be able to do anything to him. If there were some strange fish running amok in the water, this method would definitely not work. A thin layer of liquid metal wouldn't be able to protect Lin Jun. However, the leeches wouldn't be a problem. These things only had suction cups, blood-sucking, and paralysis. However, they didn't have sharp teeth or claws, so they couldn't break through Lin Jun's protective layer of liquid metal. He had just thought of this method not long ago. He didn't expect it to come in handy so quickly. As his body sank into the lake, he seemed to be able to hear Hansen shouting excitedly on the shore. Hansen was really angry. He didn't expect Lin Jun to actually dive into the water. Now, he couldn't chase after him. However, as an assassin who had accepted a mission, Hansen also had his professionalism. He wouldn't give up easily until he saw Lin Jun die and got some evidence. He saw Lin Jun use the liquid metal to protect himself after diving into the water, but he didn't think that it would last long. Little Dongfang, your metal eggshell won't be able to protect you for long. The air inside is limited. At most, it will last you half a day. You're a war god. You can use Dantian Qi, but it's impossible for you to have unlimited Qi. At most, you'll have to surface in 3 days. When that time comes, you'll die. You'll either die by my hands or those disgusting creatures' hands. Hansen stood on the shore and shouted for a while, but no one responded. He felt bored and decided to camp on the shore. He took out his tent and food. He decided to stay here and wait for the moment when Lin Jun couldn't hold on any longer and surfaced. Lin Jun didn't care about him. After entering the water, the leeches gradually dispersed and hid under the lotus leaves. Lin Jun quietly changed the shape of the liquid metal. He turned the liquid metal into a diving suit and covered his entire body without any gaps. This could effectively block the leech's suction cups. Since the liquid metal was no longer an eggshell, it no longer had any buoyancy. Lin Jun continued to sink and soon arrived at the bottom of Lotus Lake. The water here wasn't particularly deep, only about 20 to 30 meters deep. However, the water area was not small, and it was pitch black underwater. Lin Jun thinned the liquid metal in front of him until it was almost transparent. Then, relying on his night vision ability, he began to search under the Lotus Lake. This lake isn't small, but it's much smaller than Treeheart Lake. As long as that special meteorite is here, I'll definitely be able to find it. If I use the Dantian Qi now, I can stay underwater for 3 days. 3 days should be enough. Because of the existence of the leeches, there were no other fish in the lake. Sometimes, the giant leeches would swim past Lin Jun, but they wouldn't look at Lin Jun. This made Lin Jun feel very relieved. He began a net-like search, rummaging through the lake water one area after another. Almost all the stones in the water had been searched by him. It wasn't until the next night that Lin Jun finally found the target of his trip. A golden purple stone was located in the northeast direction of Lotus Lake, amidst the silt. Found it! I finally found it. Holding the stone, Lin Jun was very excited. This was a meteorite with the ability to stimulate the growth of mental power. This kind of thing was taken away by the extraterrestrial civilization as a treasure. The mental power contained in it was definitely extraordinary. Lin Jun held the meteorite and let the liquid metal spread out bit by bit, gradually wrapping the meteorite until it reached Lin Jun's chest. Once again, the liquid metal turned into a big ball. Lin Jun sat cross-legged in this ball and turned it into two hooks. He hooked them on a rock to prevent the big ball from floating up. My current mental power is at the early stage of dark gold. There is still a long way to go before I reach the middle stage. I wonder how much this meteorite, which was taken as a treasure by the extraterrestrial civilization, can increase my mental power. Even if it won't increase by much, it will definitely increase. As long as my mental power surpasses Hansen's, I won't have to be afraid of his mental attacks. At that time, his advantage will be gone, assassinating me. There's a price to pay. Lin Jun thought in his heart and placed the meteorite in front of his chest. After adjusting his breathing, he felt that his Dantian Qi could last for more than a day. It should be enough time. Let's begin. You've put in so much effort for me. Let me see how much energy you have. A stream of mental power slowly seeped into the meteorite. The things in Lin Jun's mind suddenly changed. It was almost a vast starry sky. Dark golden light shone everywhere. Occasionally, a bit of starlight swayed in it. Lin Jun immediately let out a comfortable moan when his mental power poured in. Ah, what a powerful mental power. This power is simply a great supplement for a spirit reader master. It seems that this meteorite really gave me a huge surprise. If I absorb all this power, my mental power will definitely break through the early stage. Lin Jun no longer had any scruples. His mental power was like a greedy snake, gulping down the omnipresent mental power. At this moment, Lin Jun was like a whirlpool, and the mental power in the meteorite was like a big lake. The lake water began to swirl into Lin Jun's mind. This is great. This is great. This is power. This is mental power. I feel like my mental power is increasing at an unprecedented rate. In less than an hour, Lin Jun suddenly felt as if something had been broken, and his mind was suddenly enlightened. I've advanced. I've actually advanced. How long has it been? I've actually advanced from the early stage to the middle stage of dark gold. At this time, the mental power in the meteorite didn't seem to have decreased by much. If Lin Jun went out now, his mental power would surpass Hansen's. However, he wasn't in a hurry to move. He had to absorb all the mental power in one go. He wouldn't leave until he had absorbed all the mental power in the meteorite. If it took a total of 100 small squares of mental power to advance from the early stage of dark gold to the late stage of dark gold, Lin Jun's mental power would increase by one small square every 10 minutes. After entering the middle stage of dark gold, his absorption speed had increased. After 3 hours, he had advanced by about 20% on the path to the middle stage of dark gold. Come on, Lin Jun. Maybe you can advance to the peak of the middle stage of dark gold today. Only then will you be able to defeat the foreigners on the shore and compete in the war god arena. After 6 hours, Lin Jun's mental power had reached half of the middle stage of dark gold. At this time, the mental power in the meteorite had decreased by almost half. After 10 hours, Lin Jun's mental power had increased again. It had reached 3/4 of the middle stage of dark gold. There wasn't much mental power left in the meteorite. It's almost over. It should be dawn now. I've absorbed most of the mental power in the meteorite. I'm sure I can reach the peak of the middle stage of dark gold, but it's hard to say if I can advance to the late stage of dark gold. If I can advance to the late stage of dark gold, I won't be afraid of anyone in the war god realm. Even someone as strong as Dongfeng Jun only has the mental power of the middle stage of dark gold. Even if there are some outstanding geniuses in the world, their mental power won't surpass mine. It's almost impossible for them to be on par with me. Although Lin Jun was excited, he didn't stop absorbing the mental power. Gradually, the golden mental power in Lin Jun's spiritual sea was shrinking. At this moment, the dark gold mental power had already surpassed the gold mental power. After 12 hours, Lin Jun's mental power had reached the peak of the middle stage of dark gold. Just a little more, just a little more, just a little more mental power, and I can break through. Lin Jun's mental power was like a huge snake that could devour heaven and earth. It was trying its best to absorb all the energy in the meteorite. The remaining mental power had nowhere to hide and was absorbed by Lin Jun. Boom! Finally, another expansion began. The dark gold energy in Lin Jun's spiritual sea had already occupied 2/3 of the space. The late stage of dark gold. What a powerful force, what a powerful force. Normally, those who have late-stage dark gold mental power would have to be at least a Star Realm spirit reader. But I have it now. My internal power is almost running out. I have to go out immediately. I'm going out now. Lin Jun threw away the completely useless meteorite and stepped on the bottom of the lake. Wrapped in liquid metal, he suddenly jumped up more than 10 meters. Teleportation. The late-stage dark gold Lin Jun teleported 100 meters away and directly appeared in the sky. After waiting for 3 days on the shore, Hansen, who was a little impatient, didn't even notice Lin Jun coming out. That was because he was paying attention to the water and the 50 meters above the water. He didn't expect that Lin Jun would directly teleport 100 meters away. Lin Jun looked at the restless Hansen on the shore, and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. He opened his arms and pounced over like a goshawk. Following Lin Jun's approach, he opened a hand from afar and enveloped the mental defense-type astral tool on Hansen's neck. This necklace is not bad. It's mine. Hearing Lin Jun's voice above his head, Hansen's soul almost left his body. His body was suddenly covered in cold sweat. He didn't know how Lin Jun came out, but he still instinctively released a mental attack. You finally came out to die, Eastern brat. Boom. This time, the mental defensive astral tool didn't completely protect him. The huge gap between the two of them instantly made him feel a roar in his mind. Then, he felt a chill on his neck. The astral tool necklace had fallen into Lin Jun's hands. Lin Jun landed on the ground and slowly put the necklace into his clothes. Western brat, you borrowed the power of this necklace to repeatedly use mental attacks to attack others. Have you tasted it yourself? There's no need for me. I'll let you have a taste of the upgraded version of my mental attack, Soul Lock. Lin Jun looked at the stunned Hansen. Suddenly, his eyes focused and a powerful mental power whizzed over. Chapter 222. In the past, Lin Jun would only use Soul Lock when his opponent was in a trance or under special circumstances. It was rare for him to use Soul Lock directly, but now that his spirit had reached the late stage of dark gold, it could be described as vast as the ocean. Coupled with his current aura, he was able to break through Hansen's spirit defense. Hansen's eyes were dull as he stood there twitching. Lin Jun slowly walked to his side, grabbed his collar, and stared into his soul. Tell me everything you know. My name is Hansen. I'm from Madrid, headquarters city. I received an order from someone in Ice City. That person's name is Wei Li. He belongs to the Gale Dojo. He offered 3 billion for your life. If you're captured alive, he'll add another 3 billion. Assassins were supposed to keep their clients' secrets. Unfortunately, under Lin Jun's Soul Lock, they couldn't hide anything. Are you an assassin organization? Yes. Our name is Nightingale. Our leader is a Star Realm master called John, but he never appears. Now, there are 2 leaders in the organization. They are the young mistress, whose face no one knows, and the arrogant and powerful owl. I belong to the young mistress. Did you come alone? 2 of us. There's also Alice, but she went back. I'll call her when I get out, and she'll come and pick me up. Lin Jun asked for a while and got a rough idea of what was going on. According to Harson, Nightingale was a very powerful assassin organization. There are also internal conflicts. He and Alice were in a small group, and they belonged to a leader called the Young Mistress. He saw Gale Dojo's mission on the internet. He and Alice accepted the mission and came to Ice City. They didn't expect to fall into his hands. After asking a lot of questions about the European Union warriors, Lin Jun wanted to take Hansen's life. But when he thought that a person with Soul Lock wouldn't betray him, he gave up on the idea. Hansen was a 7th level war god with an 8th level of compressed Danteon. At the same time, he was also a dark gold spirit reader master. His strength was also very strong. It would be better to keep him alive so that he could collect the A-grade mutated poisonous insects crystals for himself. Now is the golden period of collecting poisonous insect crystals in Woodalian Pond. Now, there was only Linjin here. When the Ministry of Science and Technology exposed the secret of the crystals, this place would be overcrowded. At that time, the mutated venomous insects here would be in short supply. Countless war gods would even stay here for a long time. Although the mutated venomous insects here were ferocious, they couldn't stop the war gods who desired to level up. As the number of venomous insects here decreased, the war gods wouldn't be able to level up as high as Linjun. Leaving Hansen to collect crystals nearby, Linjun continued forward, heading towards the second volcanic lake of the 5 Dalian pools, Swallow Mountain Lake. The special meteorite in the first volcanic lake was a psychic meteorite, which was specially used by telekinesis masters. The meteorite in the second volcanic lake was also of great use to Linjun. The second meteorite in Swallow Mountain Lake contained a resplendent diamond-like crystal. This crystal was called the Eternal Crystal. Its status was equivalent to that of a diamond on Earth. It was the strongest crystal on that broken planet. This kind of eternal crystal could be used to forge weapons, but flames couldn't dissolve it. Only lightning ions could soften it. After softening, it could be fused with liquid metal, greatly increasing the strength of the liquid metal. However, not everyone could master the power of lightning ions. This kind of eternal crystal was more of an expensive decoration in the interstellar. If Lin Jun's liquid metal could be fused with the eternal crystal, the solidified weapon could reach the strength of a high-grade astral weapon. However, this was the limit of liquid metal. At least, Lin Jun didn't know how to continue improving it. A high-grade astral weapon that could transform at any time was very useful to Lin Jun at this stage. Its value even exceeded that of an ordinary top-grade astral weapon. Moreover, this piece of eternal crystal was the only one that Lin Jun knew of on Earth. Its value was immeasurable. Even if the price was tens of billions or even hundreds of billions, someone would probably buy it with everything they had. Therefore, Lin Jun had to get this eternal crystal. However, when he arrived at Swallow Mountain Lake, Lin Jun encountered trouble. There were no S-class mutated poisonous insects in Swallow Mountain Lake, but all the crabs in the water were extremely tenacious crabs. An A-class mutated beast, rampaging crab. This kind of crab was the size of a small car. Its 2 huge pincers were simply able to cut through gold and jade. When Lin Jun entered Swallow Mountain Lake for the first time, he was almost cut in half by a crab. He couldn't even get close to the edge of the water. Moreover, this kind of crab didn't only live in the lake. It could even run to the shore and instantly shoot dozens of meters away. Moreover, there were so many of them that it was frightening. If Lin Jun wasn't able to teleport and fly, he probably wouldn't even have a chance to escape. Later, Lin Jun brought Hansen and made many attempts, but they could only kill a few scattered crabs. They still couldn't enter Swallow Mountain Lake. Now that there were still 2 months before the start of the God of War Arena, Lin Jun helplessly came up with a stupid idea. He let Hansen be in charge of attracting the crabs. Then, he went into the water at a place with fewer crabs and looked for the location of the Eternal Crystal. Every time a crab attacked Lin Jun could use his teleportation ability, which had reached a distance of 100 meters, to escape in an instant. Although the area of Swallow Mountain Lake wasn't small, it was still possible to explore 1 to 2% of the lake every day. Lin Jun believed that he would be able to find the Eternal Crystal if he continued like this. Every time he lured the crabs, Hansen would entangle a few of them. When Lin Jun teleported over, the 2 of them would kill them together and obtain the A-class crystals. With these A-class crystals as a foundation, Lin Jun's cultivation speed improved by leaps and bounds every day. He would even give some to Hansen, allowing him to improve slowly as well. There were too many crabs here. Even if Lin Jun and Hansen both absorbed the crystals, the number of crabs in Swallow Mountain Lake didn't seem to decrease. Lin Jun even started to store A-class crystals. Every day, there would be about 7 or 8 A-class crystals left in his spatial ring. Days passed. After 1.5 months, a quarter of Swallow Mountain Lake had been explored. Lin Jun had also advanced from early stage class 4 to mid-stage class 4. 2 months later, half of Swallow Mountain Lake had been explored. Lin Jun had advanced to late stage class 4, while Hansen had reached peak class 7 and was about to break through. Hansen told Lin Jun that Alice would come to pick him up at this time. However, Lin Jun didn't let Hansen leave. Without Hansen, there would be no one to help him lure the crabs away. At this time, he really needed Alice. As for Alice, if she wanted to wait, then let her wait. 2.5 months later, Lin Jun finally made another breakthrough and advanced to the 5th grade war god. His combat strength increased once again. The exploration of Swallow Mountain Lake was 3/4 complete. Unfortunately, he still couldn't find the eternal crystal. Lin Jun felt helpless about this. His luck could be said to be good, but sometimes it could be said to be bad. Why was the eternal crystal hidden in the last quarter of the lake? 5 days before the start of the War God Arena, Hansen had advanced to the 8th grade War God. Lin Jun had also taken a big step forward on the path of an early stage Class 5 War God. He estimated that in another 8 to 10 days, he would advance to mid-stage Class 5 War God. At this time, he finally found the eternal crystal. He and Hansen had set up a campsite. With the idea of searching from far to near, he started searching from the outer circle. In the end, he didn't expect the eternal crystal to be in the water area closest to their campsite. After finding the eternal crystal, Lin Jun didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This was probably the case with him. If he had found the eternal crystal, he might have gone to explore the 3rd volcanic lake. In the end, he wasted all his time here. However, there were gains and losses. Not only did he obtain the eternal crystal, he also had a short period of time to cultivate and stabilize his realm. Reaching the peak of early stage Class 5 War God was already very good. Looking at the eternal crystal in Lin Jun's hand, Hansen's eyes began to shine. Wow, this crystal is really beautiful. I can guarantee that this must be the most beautiful stone in the world. No, the most beautiful stone in the universe. Lin Jun held the eternal crystal in his hand and waved it at the sky. Even though there was no sunlight shining in, Lin Jun's hand still emitted a colorful light. It was so beautiful that it seemed unreal. Hansen also held it. Lin Jun, this colorful transparent stone is very heavy. It's at least 100 kilograms. Yes, this stone is very dense. What are you going to do with it? Refine a weapon. Hansen was stunned. It can't be. Can a weapon made of stone be sturdy? Lin Jun smiled. Put on your astral armor. The surface of Hansen's body flashed, and a mid-grade astral armor appeared. Lin Jun took a sharp edge of the eternal crystal and scratched the mid-grade armor. It actually made a dent. Oh my god, this stone is unbelievably hard. But Lin Jun, how are you going to smelt it? If you burn it, won't it vaporize? Don't waste it. I have my ways. Don't worry about it. Get ready. We'll leave Woodalian Lake in a day. I'll follow your arrangements. Lin Jun, you're strange. Why do I like to listen to you so much? It should be your charisma that moves me. Hansen muttered to himself and walked away. A person whose soul was locked was no different from an ordinary person, but he would never know that his soul was locked. He would not do anything harmful to Lin Jun, nor would he reveal any of his secrets. Hansen went to collect the crab crystals again, while Lin Jun took out the liquid metal. The lightning ions in his body began to swarm out and enter the eternal crystal. Bursts of dazzling, colorful light flashed. The eternal crystal seemed to have met its natural nemesis and began to gradually soften. The liquid metal at Lin Jun's waist immediately covered it and mixed with the eternal crystal. They gradually fused. An hour later, Lin Jun stood up. He raised his hand, and a piece of colorful metal weighing 150 kilograms flew up. After circling in the air, it turned into a belt again and condensed at Lin Jun's waist. However, this belt was too eye-catching. Lin Jun made an animal skin cover to cover it. Chapter 223. After Lin Jun was done, he called out to Hansen. Hey, it's time to go. Hansen had just lured a crab to kill. After hearing Lin Jun's call, he reluctantly ran over. Lin Jun, the crabs here are delicious. Should we take some with us? You can take them. I've already brought a dozen. Lin Jun had already discovered the deliciousness of the crabs here. Each one weighed close to a ton. The crab roe and crab meat inside satisfied Lin Jun's appetite. The ancient god ring that he took from Yu Feng's body was huge. Moreover, it was an absolute vacuum that could store food. In such a large space, there was only one black specter parked there. Since she had nothing to do, Lin Jun collected a large number of rampage crabs and stored them inside, waiting for future consumption. Hansen's space ring was not as big as Lin Jun's. There was not much space after only one crab. Let's go. This is really a failed mission. I can't beat you at all. No wonder Miss told us not to accept missions from the East. Lin, are all the warriors in the East as strong as you? Lin Jun glanced at Hansen. I'm just a special case. That's good. If they were all as strong as you, we wouldn't need to fight in the War God arena. We would directly recognize China as the #1 in the War God Alliance. The two of them rose into the air and went straight to the entrance of Wadalian Lake. As he walked out, Lin Jun turned back to take a look. There were still 3 more volcanic lakes that he had yet to explore. There were even better things in them, but he didn't have the time now. He could only come back after the qualifiers. He hoped that by then, there wouldn't be too many people here. The two of them walked out of the entrance of Wadalian Lake. Hansen first looked around and did not find Alice's aircraft. He scratched his head awkwardly. Alice actually did not come to pick me up. She's not a good friend. He even walked over to the guard. Hey, pervert brother, did you see a white aircraft come by? This guard was the same one who had been on duty when Lin Jun and Hansen came in. This month, he was on duty again. When he saw Hansen, he said angrily, "What pervert? You're a pervert." Fortunately, we didn't flirt with Alice last time. Otherwise, you would have become a pile of mud by now. Only then did the guard remember who Hansen was. Ah, you're talking about that Western chick? She came here more than 10 days ago, but when she saw that you didn't come out, she left again. She also told me to tell you to call her. She also said that you took on a mission without permission. You'll be dead when you come out. The guard said gloatingly. Oh, what happened this time? It wasn't my decision to accept the mission on my own. If you fail, you'll take it out on me. Why didn't you wait for me? Forget it. I'd better make a call. Hansen frowned and took out his phone. Make the call, but you have to think about how you're going to explain it to your partner. Hansen nodded. Lin, it doesn't matter if I can't complete the mission. However, if I fail, Alice will definitely deal with you. She's a 9th grade war god. Her strength is much stronger than mine. You have to be careful. It doesn't matter. A warrior's life is a process of constantly facing challenges. I'll wait for her to come. Okay, then let's meet at the War God Arena. You mustn't be eliminated too early. Hansen began to call Alice to pick him up. Listening to Hansen's tone, Alice seemed to be not far away. She said that she would come a while. Lin Jun didn't want to meet the other assassins. He took out the black ghost and rose into the sky amidst Hansen's exclamations of admiration. After returning to Ice City, Lin Jun didn't fly back to the city. Instead, he landed outside the city and walked into the city. He slowly walked on the streets of Ice City. It was autumn now, and the weather was pleasant. There were many people on the streets of Ice City. Lin Jun walked to the east side of the city. This was the world of warriors. Advertisements about the War God Arena could be seen everywhere on the streets. Supporting Ice City's contestants. Ice City's War God will shine all over the world. Raising both hands and praying for Ice City's War God. Let them pass the preliminaries smoothly. The War God Arena's War God Arena will be a tiger among sheep. The War God Arena's War God Arena's War God Arena will be personally participating. Distance tests a horse's strength. Everyone, please support Gale Mayao. Gale War God Duo Long, Ice City's Hope. The king has returned. Please support Dragon, slaying Dojo's Xin Ruhai. Guangying. There were posters everywhere on the streets. Every dojo had their own large posters of their contestants. Below each poster, there were many warriors' signatures. They also wrote their blessings, hoping that the contestant would achieve good results in the War God Arena. Lin Jun didn't have anything to do now. He walked slowly and looked at the posters. Tong Yuehu's poster was at the front. As the dojo master of the #1 dojo, he received the most attention. Although there were many warriors who didn't like him, in front of an unprecedented global competition like the War God Arena, most people chose to support him. Behind Tong Yuehu, there were Generals Hung and Ha. Ma Yao and Wei Li were also two powerful war gods. These were the three contestants of the Gale War God Arena. They were the main hope for the three of them to achieve good results. Of course, other than the three of them, there were more than 10 Gale war gods. They more or less had people supporting them, but they weren't as popular as the three of them. After walking past Gale's poster, it was Gale's poster. Gale's first poster was of a warrior with deep eyes. He was a 9th grade war god in his early 30s. His name was Duo Long, and he was the main force of Ice City's Gale. Lin Jun still had some impression of this person. During the Battle of Ice City's Bay City, he led the Gale warriors to fight for many days. They fought their way out of the Bay City before it fell. That battle was very brave and left a deep impression on people. Similarly, in the next poster, Dragon Slaying Dojo's XN Rahai was also a 9th grade war god. When the Dragon Slaying Dojo retreated, he was in charge of bringing up the rear. His magnificent feat of killing 19 A-grade mutated beasts in a row was also shocking. Lin Jun had some impression of the remaining warriors of the dojo, but he couldn't remember who they were. He guessed that they weren't that outstanding. Lin Jun walked all the way to the poster for the 10th place of the dojo. He saw Jade Sky's poster. Jade Sky only had one poster. On it was Lin Jun's full body portrait. Jade Sky, Lin Jun will definitely achieve good results. Such a dry sentence made Lin Jun scratch his head. Couldn't Yang Jining think of a better phrase? For example, defeating the Russians that day. But when he remembered that the Russians he defeated were also recruited by Jade Sky, Lin Jun could understand Yang Jining's difficulties. Looking around, there were thousands of war gods from Ice City participating. Only Jade Sky's team was the poorest. Those from the military and the church were much better than Jade Sky's team. Although Lin Jun felt that he was younger and more handsome than those war gods, in this lonely corner, he didn't look imposing at all. Lin Jun walked in front of the poster and noticed that there were many names left below. Lin Jun, do your best. I have high hopes for you. I hope that Lin Jun can recreate his glory as a general and obtain a place in the qualifiers for Ice City. Lai Feng doesn't want you. Join the traitor Jade Sky. Lin Jun, go to hell. What can a beginner war god do? Jade Sky is useless. Lin Jun is useless. Some people were giving their blessings, some were cursing. Lin Jun had been like this ever since he started practicing martial arts. He didn't really care about these things. He took a look and prepared to leave. But just as he was about to leave, he suddenly stopped. At the corner of this poster, there was a line of beautiful handwriting. Perform well. I'll wait for you at the end of the world. This line of small words was inconspicuous in the corner. If one didn't look carefully, they wouldn't be able to see it. But one thing was for sure, it definitely wasn't written by a man. Words were like the person. To be able to write this kind of handwriting, she should be a pretty good girl. Lin Jun looked at it and couldn't imagine who wrote it. From the tone, it seemed to be someone he knew. But looking at the content, Lin Jun was confused. Waiting for him at the end of the world? Who is it? Where is the end of the world? Maybe it's a female fan with dreams. After all, I'm so handsome. Lin Jun smiled and turned around to leave the dojo area, preparing to go home. At this moment, a little girl walked over timidly. Big brother, do you want to buy an illustrated handbook of the God of War? Many of the experts participating in the God of War arena are on it. Lin Jun lowered his head. This little girl was only 7 or 8 years old. She seemed to be a little poor and wasn't dressed very well. Her big black eyes made Lin Jun think of a deer in the forest. She was holding a stack of books in her hands. The books introduced the participants of the God of War arena this time. He didn't know who had created this book. Now that the internet was widespread, many things could be found online. This kind of book definitely wouldn't sell well. But looking at the little girl, Lin Jun still squatted down. Then I'll buy one. How much is this book? 100 yuan for one. Lin Jun took a book and handed the little girl a 1,000 yuan note. These are all for you. Go home early. The little girl shook her head. No, Wei Wei can't take more money from others. 100 yuan is enough. Seeing the little girl's persistence, Lin Jun smiled. He took out a 100 yuan note and handed it to Wei Wei. Wei Wei is so obedient. You're a good child. Remember to maintain this character. Yes, thank you, big brother. Just now a very, very beautiful big sister said the same thing to Wei Wei. Really? Is she that beautiful? Where is she? Lin Jun asked casually. The big sister left on a flying device. She signed here and bought Wei Wei's book. The little girl pointed casually, but Lin Jun was stunned, because the little girl was pointing at the corner of his publicity poster. Wei Wei took the money and skipped away. Lin Jun took a deep breath. Chapter 2:24. When he got home, Lin Jun heard the sound of boxing. There was a rhythm to the punches, and there was even someone giving instructions loudly. It sounded like a real fight. Lin Jun went to the training hall on the second floor. It was a modified version of a few rooms in the villa. The area was about 200 square meters. His parents were training under the supervision of their own mentors. After 3 months of training, his parents' complexion was obviously much better. Lin Jun occasionally punched, so he should have reached the stage of a third-grade warrior. Lin Jun nodded slightly. Advancing to a level 3 warrior in 3 months was not considered a genius, not even talent. However, Lin Jun was already satisfied as long as there was progress. Lin Jun didn't want to disturb his parents, who were in a trance, so he went back to his room. He took out the book he bought from the little girl. It was dozens of pages thick, introducing the powerful war gods of each country. The first page was about the Huaxia region. After opening it, Lin Jun smiled, because the first person on the first page was his great beauty, Su Mingwei. Su Mingwei was still wearing her iconic white priest robe. Her black hair cascaded down her shoulders, and a golden ribbon was gently tied around her waist, outlining the perfect shape of her waist. Her towering peaks lifted the robe, and her delicate collarbone was exposed at the collar. It made people want to pursue the beautiful scenery below. The background was an endless sea of stars. Her beautiful big eyes were deep, and there was a faint light floating around her body. She was so beautiful that she didn't look like someone from this planet. There was an introduction below, and it was the same familiar sentence. If Su Mingwei didn't exist in this world, who would be worthy of the white robe? Su Mingwei, 20 years old, saintess of the Star God sect, level 5 war god. She is one of the youngest contestants in this competition. After that, there was a long introduction about Su Mingwei. Lin Jun was familiar with all of it. He didn't expect that Su Mingwei had also advanced to the 5th grade war god realm. Furthermore, Lin Jun felt that she wasn't just an early 5th grade war god. She might even be slightly stronger than him. Of course, during the 3 months Lin Jun spent in the 5 Dalian Lake, if he didn't waste so much time in the Yen Mountain Lake, he might have already advanced to the 6th grade war god realm. Even so, it still proved that Gongsun Du's special training was impressive. The Star Sky Church was indeed mysterious. Su Mingwei's strength was very strong. Lin Jun's tenfold compression had reached the late stage of rank 3 war god. Su Mingwei's 9-stage compression had also reached the middle stage of rank 3. She was not much weaker than Lin Jun. Even if Yufeng had advanced to the war god realm, he was only at the peak of rank 2. This meant that Su Mingwei's talent was higher than Yufeng's. Now that she had advanced to the 5th grade, she should be able to compete in the war god arena. Her chances of passing the preliminaries were very high. However, people still didn't think that she would have any chance in the elimination rounds. After all, her level was still low. Furthermore, Su Mingwei didn't seem to be very strong. This time, there were many war god experts. Su Mingwei was placed on the first page not only because of her identity, but also because of her appearance. She was the most beautiful, so who else would be put on the first page? It was a very common gimmick during publicity. This was the habitual thinking of humans. Beautiful things were delicate and fragile. Although Su Mingwei had proven many times that she was very capable, no one really treated her as a master. However, Lin Jun knew that Su Mingwei would definitely advance. He remembered this poster. In his previous life, Su Mingwei had advanced to the top 16 in the War God arena. This was a very good result in China. He could imagine that after the preliminaries, Gong Sun Du would continue to give her special treatment. Ming Yue's information. After the second page, there were a few pages of information about the Beijing headquarters city. However, Lin Jun didn't have any impression of them. There was only one person that Lin Jun noticed. He Lu came from the Beijing Lifeng Dojo. He was a 9th grade war god and should be the trump card of the Lifeng Dojo. However, he had never heard of him before. After flipping through the information about the Beijing headquarters, it was the Shanghai headquarters, the Northwest headquarters, the South Tianfu headquarters, and finally the Ice City headquarters. Among them, Lin Jun knew about Tang Wenba from the Shanghai headquarters and Feng Yan'ai from the Northwest Military Academy. Both of them were quite famous in his previous life. Tang Wenba belonged to the Shanghai Lifeng Dojo and was Jiang Huai Sr. Feng Yan'ai was Li Changjing Sr. and was quite famous in the Northwest. In the Ice City, there were Tong Yu, Huda, Ma Yao, Wei Li, Xian Ru, and Du Long. The others were not on the list. Lin Jun's name was also not on the list. After the Ice City headquarters, there was no one from the China headquarters. The next page was the American headquarters. There were many American headquarters warriors, but Lin Jun only knew one of them. One of them was Doak from Los Angeles headquarters city. This person was very famous in his previous life. He was one of the representatives of the American headquarters city. In his previous life, Doak was the runner-up in the War God arena. However, according to the book, other than Doak, there was another warlord called Mario, who was also very strong. He came from Seattle-based city, but Lin Jun did not remember this person. He was not a god, so it was impossible for him to remember everyone's name from 1,000 years ago. After the American headquarters, there were the European Union headquarters warriors. The first European Union headquarters warrior was Air from Madrid headquarters city. This person's poster was the image of a knight. He was wearing astral armor, a long sword, a helmet, and a shield. However, Lin Jun knew that this Air was one of the leaders in Hansen's organization. Other than Air, there was a woman from Paris headquarters city. She wore a metal mask on her face, and only her eyes could be seen. However, it was obvious that she was a beauty. She had long golden hair, and her skin tone was somewhat oriental. She was a mixed blood. This woman's name was Chris. That was all there was to her introduction. There was no more information. There was also Morosky from Berlin headquarters city. He was a tall white warrior. After that, there were two other famous warriors from India. One was called Omar from New Delhi headquarters city. The other was called Shehan from Mumbai headquarters city. Lin Jun had some impression of these two people. However, it was not that deep. After all, it had been a long time. It seemed that one of them had entered the top 8. Other than India, there was African Eagle Pogba from Cairo headquarters city. He was also a very powerful level 9 war god. There was also Sanji from Rio de Janeiro headquarters city. He was also one of the top candidates. Other than that, there were many other war gods. Lin Jun could not remember all of them. At the end of the book, there was a Russian warrior from St. Petersburg headquarters city, Holov. He was known as the Northern War God and was very powerful. Other than Holov, there was also Moscow headquarters cities, Kaplingrad headquarters city, Lancelot headquarters cities Adolf. These 3 Russian warriors were very powerful. They were known as the 3 warriors of Russia. Their strength was second only to Holov. After Holov, Lin Jun immediately recognized him. He was the champion of the God of War arena in his previous life. Even in Bing City, there were many legends about Holov. This was because he was the only level 9 war god who had killed a level S mutated beast alone. He had killed a mutated polar bear. When he brought back the body of the mutated polar bear, the whole St. Petersburg was in an uproar. The news spread, and in the end, almost the whole world knew about it. In this life's God of War arena, Holov was still the most popular candidate to win. Although the God of War arena had not started yet, Feng Yu's book showed that there was something different. This was because there was an interview with Holov. Holov said, "My brother Ivan died in China. I do not have a good impression of China's warriors. That's why Chinese warriors must be careful when they meet me in the qualifiers or the knockout rounds. You will feel the cold wind from the far north." Holov did not say who killed his brother, but almost all the martial artists in China, especially those in Bingsheng, knew that Ivan was killed by Lin Jun. Other than Holuf, Morosky, Lancelot, and Adolf also expressed their dissatisfaction with the Chinese warriors. They also hinted that they would take revenge for Ivan. Lin Jun sneered. He could even imagine that after Holuf said this, many Chinese warriors would scold him on the forum. Lin Jun opened his computer. He casually turned on his computer and logged into the forum. As expected, there were all sorts of discussions. Some Bing City warriors expressed that Lin Jun was in the limelight, and all the Chinese warriors were paying for him. Some also expressed that they wanted to stay away from Lin Jun to avoid being implicated by him. Among them, Shinta Hua from Gale Martial Arts School even said, "I, Shinta Hua, may not be a good person, but I can clearly say that I'm stronger than Lin Jun. I am a real villain, and that guy is a hypocrite. I will not say anything else." He took the initiative to join Azure Sky Martial Arts School. That is a martial arts school that recruits Russians. What do the Russians think of him? He hugged the Russians' thighs, but they ignored him. They even took their anger out on us Chinese warriors. This kind of despicable behavior is a disgrace to all Chinese. I, Shinta Hua, will not associate with people like Lin Jun. Shinta Hua's reputation on the internet was indeed bad, but his words resonated with some warriors. They expressed their dissatisfaction with Lin Jun joining Azure Sky Martial Arts School. Lin Jun, trash like you will not make it past the third round. Can Lin Jun pass the preliminaries? What a dumb *SS. He will probably be a nobody. Joining Azure Sky Martial Arts School to hug the Russians' thighs? This kind of person should get out of Bing City. Can I say something weakly? Didn't Lin Jun kill a Russian? Why are you saying that he hugged the Russians' thighs? It doesn't make sense. Do you know that people change? Is there need to ask? That guy is too powerful, so he is afraid and wants to beg for mercy. If not, why would he join Azure Sky Martial Arts School? Does anyone feel that although Shinta Hua is a real villain, he is still better than Lin Jun, that hypocrite? Lin Jun closed the website after reading all the posts. It was useless to talk about this kind of thing. The preliminaries were about to begin, and he would use his actions to respond. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye, and it was the day of the preliminaries. What a powerful but and a voluptuous figure. WeChat Public, Pretty Girl Meng 22. Chapter 225. Finally, the day of the qualifiers arrived. Every participant had received a virtual reality helmet and had been adjusted by the staff. When the time came, they would be able to enter the virtual world. Therefore, the participants basically stayed at home and waited for the competition to start. The World War God Alliance had already announced that the competition would start at 10 a.m. This War God Arena was the focus of the entire world. Not only were the War God martial artists paying attention, but the soldiers and generals were also paying attention. The Star Realm and Star Realm experts were also paying attention. The governments of various countries were paying attention. The military of various countries were also paying attention. The people of the churches were paying attention to the experts of their churches. They even stopped their Sunday services. Even ordinary people were affected. Schools were closed and factories were on holiday. Everyone was paying attention to the situation of the War God Arena. Although the world of martial artists was extremely far away from them, this battle would affect the ranking of each country in the World War God Alliance. The World War God Alliance's role was to support each other. If a country was attacked by mutated beasts, the other country's World War God Alliance members had the obligation to support them. This ranking had a huge advantage. When a mutated beast attacked a city, the country that was ranked at the top would have priority to use it. Of course, all the war gods registered in the World War God Alliance would be used. For example, if Huaxia and Marika were attacked by mutated beasts at the same time and Huaxia's ranking was higher than Marika's, the ranking advantage would be reflected. Other than the registered war gods of Huaxia and Marika, the other country's war gods would have priority to be used by Huaxia. Marika could only wait for Huaxia to finish choosing and then choose from the rest. Moreover, the higher the ranking, the more power they had to speak. Moreover, this involved honor. This War God Arena was something that every country had to fight for. If one was ranked at the bottom, then it would be hard. They would be ordered around by others every day and not have a chance to do good things. The participating war gods would be scolded to death by the public. Therefore, the citizens were extremely concerned about the participants. These days, when they had nothing to do, they would stay at home and study the strength of the war gods. Many people even created seated participants and key participants. For example, Lin Jun's book was created by these people. Huge screens were erected on the streets and alleys of every base city. Although they couldn't broadcast the specific battle situation in the virtual world, there was one thing that could be done. That was the list of the qualified participants and a list of the eliminated participants. According to official statistics, there were over 30,000 war gods participating in this battle. In the end, only 1,024 people could advance, which meant that only 1/30th of the war gods. Fighting was not prohibited in the Heavenly Garden. In fact, fighting was even encouraged. This was not the real world. If you were killed, you would only be eliminated. Every country had this mentality before the start of the competition. Their country's god of war did not need to think about anything else. The first list was naturally the advancement list. Starting from the first place all the way to the 1,024th life, every time someone arrived at the garden house and occupied a spot, their name would be displayed here for everyone to look up to. 2. The third list was called the kill list. If you kill someone in the virtual world, then your kill count will increase by 1. Every time someone advanced or got killed, the screen would display and remind everyone who killed who. No one wanted to be the target of the kill. Everyone wanted to kill someone else. Therefore, no one wanted to get on the kill list. In addition, all the gem shards obtained in the Heavenly Garden. If you were killed, then the gem shards would automatically belong to the other party. You couldn't take them out. Only war gods who advanced successfully, or those who collected enough gem shards and chose to quit, could go outside in exchange for the gem shards. Of course, these gem shards were virtual. The virtual system would automatically record the number of gem shards you obtained. Even if there was no hatred, the gem shards were still a big reason to kill. Recently, there was a topic that was hyped up like crazy. That was the first drop of blood. Who could leave the first drop of blood in the virtual world? There were 7 countries and tens of thousands of war gods. It was certain that countless war gods from any country would be eliminated. However, whoever was the first to be eliminated would lose face. He would be remembered by the whole world and would be mocked by the whole world. Even if he advanced to the star realm in the future, people might still say, it was this guy who was the first to be eliminated in the war god arena. How could a piece of trash advance to the star realm? Many people even started betting on which country's people will be the first to be eliminated. In this betting, China's odds were the lowest. This was because China had a lot of people. Moreover, their quality was also mixed. It was very easy for them to be eliminated by experts from other countries. Some people even used Lin Jun as an example. That brat from my city is only a level 3 war god. The chances of him being eliminated are very high. Russia's war god of the north, Halaf, and the 3 warriors of Russia all said that China's warriors would not be merciful. Halaf even said that he wanted to kill a Chinese warrior and get the first drop of blood. This topic was hyped up to the peak. At this time, if there was a ranking of the person who was most likely to be eliminated, then Lin Jun's chances were definitely the highest. This was because everyone knew that Lin Jun had killed the Russian warrior, Ivan, and was the target of Russia. Being targeted by a big country, he was naturally the first to be eliminated. Although this possibility was very small compared to so many warriors, many people on the streets and alleys would joke that if a warrior could reach Lin Jun's level, then he should really bang his head against the wall and commit suicide. Not only did people from China say this, but people from Russia also said this. People from all over the world were saying this. As the topic of the first drop of blood became more and more popular, the World War God Alliance even came up with a temporary policy. Whoever was the first to kill a warrior from another country and get the first drop of blood would be rewarded with a high-grade astral tool. When he came out, he could get it by drawing lots. Of course, this was only limited to the first time. If you were 0.1 seconds away from finishing, you would not be able to get the reward. Everything would be shown on the big screen. Everyone was watching, so there was no way to cheat. Therefore, Other than the promotion list, elimination list, and slaughter list, people were also paying attention to the first drop of blood. As the time of the competition approached, all the contestants put on their helmets. Lin Jun also put on his helmet at home, waiting for the competition to start. Soon, a countdown appeared in front of him. 9:87. When the countdown reached 1, a white light flashed in front of him, and the scene changed. The surrounding scenery disappeared and was replaced by a colorful world. It was a garden that had been magnified countless times. The sun was high in the sky, and the spring breeze was warm. The air was fresh, and the fragrance of flowers and soil wafted over, making all the contestants feel relaxed and happy. If one looked at the garden from a high altitude, it was circular. The outermost circle was a grassland that was hundreds of kilometers wide. After passing through the grassland, there was a fence. The fence was almost as high as the sky, and there was a layer of yellow light on it. It was impossible to fly or even teleport through it. Only by passing through the gap in the fence below could one enter the garden. After the vast sea of flowers that was dozens of kilometers wide, a moat-like stream surrounded the garden house. Of course, this stream was like a big river to the ant-like martial artists. Moreover, the waves were rolling, and it was not easy to cross it. After crossing the stream, the garden house was the final destination. White light flashed, and all the contestants were randomly teleported to a location at the edge of the garden. The garden was very big. More than 30,000 people were teleported in, and many of them had other people beside them. Because it was random, many people had other people beside them. For example, Lin Jun. Before Lin Jun could get into the surrounding environment, a figure appeared in front of him. Moreover, it was facing Lin Jun. They appeared at almost the same time. Within 100 meters, there were only the two of them. The martial artist opposite him was tall and had a full beard. He was wearing an astral armor, a necklace around his neck, and a sword in his hand. Lin Jun recognized this person at a glance. He was one of the 3 warriors of Russia, Adolf from the Far East. Adolf also recognized Lin Jun at a glance. Although Lin Jun was not listed in the books, how could Adolf not know who Lin Jun was? Adolf's eyes suddenly lit up. God above, you actually gave me, Adolf, such a good opportunity to become famous. Lin Jun, go to hell. Without any hesitation, the two of them moved at almost the same time and clashed head-on. Lin Jun was Adolf's information. He was born with superhuman strength. Although he was not a spirit reader master, he wore a low-grade spirit defense astral necklace around his neck. A low-grade spirit defense astral necklace was not enough to completely block a late-stage dark gold rank spirit attack, especially when this person was not a spirit reader. His spirit attack was low, and Lin Jun countered it. Spirit attack. A spirit attack rushed out and hit Adolf's spirit C. Although Adolf was protected by an astral weapon, he was still stunned. He instantly had a headache. Lin Jun's figure flashed, and he teleported. He directly appeared behind Adolf and struck with his overlord spear, backstab. Pooh! Blood splattered, and Adolf's neck was penetrated. His body twisted unwillingly, but the system still determined that he was dead, and he turned into light spots and disappeared in the air. On the streets and alleys of the world, the same text flashed across all the big screens. Huaxiai City-based city's Azure Sky Dojo, War God Lin Jun has killed Russia Far East-based city's Storm Dojo, War God Adolf. Russia Far East-based city's Storm Dojo, War God. First Blood. The whole world was silent at this moment. Announcement. This site recommends a free novel app. Goodbye to all advertisements. Please follow the official WeChat account to download and install. Chapter 226. On the streets of Bingcheng, people stared at the screen with their mouths agape. There is a suffix behind Adolf's name, Hall of the Exalted. The so-called Hall of the Exalted was promoted by various dojos before the competition. It could be found on the internet or in books. Every member of the Hall of the Exalted was popular and was favored to advance to the knockout round. However, such a member of the Hall of the Exalted was killed in seconds. Lin Jun. It was Lin Jun again. Wasn't he on the verge of death? Wasn't he too weak after becoming a warlord? Didn't everyone say that he would be the first to be eliminated? Those Russian martial artists looked so arrogant. Didn't they say that they would teach Lin Jun a lesson? How did everything turn around in an instant? Oh my God! Lin Jun only went in for a second, and he killed Adolf, one of the 3 warriors of Russia. That's a member of the Hall of the Exalted. He's going to die. Yeah, what 3 warriors of Russia? What Hall of the Exalted? Didn't that guy know how to dodge? Did he run in a Lin Jun's spear like an idiot? Those people were right about one thing. Adolf didn't dodge. He also wanted to kill Lin Jun as soon as possible. The 2 of them rushed at each other as soon as they saw each other. That was why Lin Jun was able to kill Adolf in a second. Not only in Bingcheng, but also in front of the Forbidden City Square in Beijing Bay City, in front of the statues in Southern Bay City, in front of the Pearl Tower in Shanghai Bay City, in front of the border outpost in Northwest Bay City, Red Square in Moscow, under the Statue of Liberty in New York beside the Eiffel Tower in Paris, in front of the temple in India. The whole world stopped breathing at that moment. If this could be maintained for a day, the air quality on Earth would improve a lot. But then, the Earth was in an uproar. People were clamoring and restless. This script was wrong. Weren't the Russian martial artists supposed to kill the Chinese first? How did the tables turn in the blink of an eye? It was the Russian who was killed by the Chinese, and it was one of the Russian 3 warriors who was killed by a newbie they thought was an instant kill. Other countries were fine, but Russia was cursing at the same time. Of course, they weren't cursing Lin Jun, but Adolf from the Far East Bay City. Adolf angrily took off his helmet and threw it to the ground. What's going on? I'm not hallucinating, am I? How could I be insta-killed by Lin Jun? I'm one of the 3 warriors of Russia. I'm a member of the Hall of Fame, and I'm set to have a chance to enter the top 16. Adolf lowered his head in pain. His ambition at the start of the competition had now flown out the window. He felt that his life had turned gray. Crack, crash. The glass in Adolf's house was broken. Curses could be heard from outside. Adolf didn't even have the courage to go out and see who it was. He could only curl up in the corner of his house to avoid the flying rocks. If I knew this would happen, I wouldn't have provoked Lin Jun. This was Adolf's only thought at the moment. After Lin Jun's insta-kill, the big screen on the street started to flicker. The second person to be killed was finally from China. Moreover, the plot had changed again. The person who was killed was Shinto Hua, and the person who eliminated him was Halaf. After Halaf entered the heavenly garden, he immediately saw a Chinese war god not far away. He didn't hesitate to pounce on him. When Shinto Hua came in and saw Halaf, he immediately cursed his bad luck. He didn't have the courage to fight against Halaf. When Halaf pounced on him, he even used a lazy donkey roll and actually dodged Halaf's attack. Halaf also didn't expect a war god to use such a move. It was because of this delay that he missed the first attack. When he used the second attack to kill Shinto Hua, the first place had already been decided. Every contestant could also see the data in the virtual system. The rankings were all on a small screen and could be searched. Seeing that Lin Jun had obtained the first drop of blood, even Halaf, who had completed the second kill, felt his face burning. He had bragged a bit too much. Lin Jun could actually kill Adolf in a second. He had indeed underestimated him. Of course, Halaf didn't think that Lin Jun's true strength was that strong. It must have been that idiot Adolf who short-circuited somewhere and let Lin Jun take advantage of him. After Halaf finished his kill, the following kills started to appear one after another. Los Angeles Heaven Dojo War God Dope killed Brazil War God Triple X. China Beijing God's Grace Church Su Mingyue killed India War God Triple X. EU Paris Bay City Sacred Martial Arts Schools Chris killed America's God of War Triple X. India's New Delhi War God Omar killed China's War God XX. Europe's Holy Martial Arts Schools Chris from Paris Bay City killed India's God of War Triple X. Double kill. The screen seemed to be crazily scrolling. Countless names appeared layer by layer. The number of people on the kill list instantly increased, and the 30,000 people who entered also rapidly decreased. After a minute, the 30,000 people had decreased to 25,000. In just a minute, more than 5,000 war gods had been eliminated. This was also caused by the fact that everyone was gathered together at the beginning. After a minute, almost no one was in the same place, and the number of kills began to slow down. However, from time to time, there would still be flashes of someone being killed by someone. Among them, the one who killed the most was Europe Paris Sacred Dojo Chris. So far, she had killed 4 people. There were also hundreds of people who killed 3 or 2 people. Lin Jun's name was now nowhere in the rankings, but it was firmly remembered by everyone. After killing Adolf, Lin Jun was not in a hurry to move forward. Adolf was killed by him just now. He underestimated the enemy, but he didn't expect Lin Jun's mental power to reach the late stage of Dark Gold. He could even break through the defense of a low-grade astral tool. Lin Jun did not intend to fight for a position that was too close to the front. Being ranked first or 1024 was the same to him. Moreover, if he was too close to the front, he might encounter those experts, which would be even more dangerous. Lin Jun first stopped at the edge of the grass and looked at the rules of the virtual world. When war gods entered the virtual world, there were 4 ways to leave the virtual world. The first way was to take the initiative to quit. As long as you wanted to leave, you could use your mind to leave. This kind of leaving was equivalent to giving up, but you could keep the gem fragments you collected. The second way was to reach the garden house and leave your name on it. The system would treat it as you completing the test and take the initiative to quit the virtual world. The gem fragments would also be kept. The third way was simple. Quit after death. If you were killed by others or by insects or flowers in the garden, the gem fragments would automatically drop. The last way was to quit when the time was up and the fragments would be kept. This heavenly garden wasn't for you to stay indefinitely. There are 4 seasons: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. Each season only had 1 day. The first day was spring, and the 4th day was winter. When winter was about to end, the garden's time would be up. At that time, everyone would quit and the qualifiers would end. After looking at the rules, Lin Jun looked at the leaderboard. There were more than 24,000 people left in the garden. After the initial massacre, everyone started to move forward quickly, wanting to pass through the grass as soon as possible. However, Lin Jun wasn't in a hurry to leave. If everyone rushed to the front, a battle would be unavoidable. He was a spirit reader, so he could fly and teleport. His speed was definitely not slow. During this time, it would be good for him to collect some gem fragments at the back. He even rested at the edge of the grass for almost an hour. Then, he stood up and stepped on a cloud to rise into the sky. Seeing that there was no one around, he slowly moved towards the sea of flowers. At this time, the leaderboard outside had changed a lot. Of course, the advancement leaderboard was still empty. However, the massacre leaderboard was constantly changing. The first place, Chris, had already killed 9 people. The second place, Doak, had killed 8 people. The third place, Sal, had killed 7 people. Then there's a long list of people tied up. Most of the people who occupied the massacre leaderboard were Hall of Famers who had been heavily promoted before the competition. These people were the stars of the God of War. These people were moving forward quickly, hoping to reach the sea of flowers before the end of the first day and seize a spot in the advancement leaderboard. Lin Jun didn't know the change in the situation at all. Even if he knew, he wouldn't care. He took the liquid metal from his waist. Seeing that there was no one around, he started his plan. What he needed to do was to remove the weeds. Most of the gem fragments were hidden in the flowers and plants. These flowers and plants were too tall, so it was impossible to find them without looking carefully. Lin Jun didn't have the time to look through them one by one. He already had an idea. After rising into the sky, the liquid metal turned into a windmill with 3 leaves. Each leaf had a sharp edge. It was a huge curved blade that was 10 meters long. The 3 tails connected together to form a large windmill. Now that he had late-stage dark gold mental strength, it wasn't difficult for him to drive the liquid metal. After rising into the sky, the windmill formed. With a move of his mental force, the windmill started to rotate. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Lin Jun removed large patches of grass. As he removed the weeds, he used gravity to throw the flying weeds behind him. This ensured that he could keep his eyes on the ground. The 10-meter-long blade was extremely efficient in removing weeds. It stuck close to the ground and moved forward. Whether it was grass, trees, or rocks, they were all defenseless in front of the liquid metal that was as strong as a high-grade astral tool. Chapter 227. Every time he saw a flash of red light, Lin Jun would immediately wave his hand, and the ruby shards would be sucked over by gravity. 09 Small said net. Another hour passed like this, and he actually obtained 25 ruby shards and even one sapphire shard. After every martial artist obtained a gem shard, there would be a faint glow on their body, which meant that they had a gem shard on them. This was done intentionally by the War God Alliance to encourage martial artists to fight inside. After Lin Jun obtained these gem shards, there was a layer of red and blue light flashing on his body. However, Lin Jun didn't care, since there wasn't anyone behind him to see. This is so satisfying. Lin Jun was in the mood for treasure hunting. Although the ancient god ruins were gradually being explored, the number of astral tools was increasing, and their prices were plummeting. The days when a low-grade astral tool could be sold for billions were gone forever, but the price wasn't too low either. These ruby shards were sold for 10 million each, but if 10 of them were exchanged for a low-grade astral tool, it would still be worth a few hundred million. Mid-grade astral tools were even more expensive, and the worst of them was at least 1 billion. Among them, defensive astral tools were worth 2 to 3 billion, and support-type astral tools were worth 6 to 7 billion. There were even some that were worth more than 10 billion. High-grade astral tools were worth at least 10 billion, and that was the worst among them. Tens of billions weren't rare at all. Top-grade astral tools were almost priceless. Even the worst of them might not be worth more than 100 billion. I've already obtained 2 low-grade astral tools, so I've obtained at least 4 to 500 million. However, there aren't many sapphire shards in this grassland area. Lin Jun's windmill blade once again swept the surrounding 100 meters, and he finally obtained another sapphire shard. Let's sweep for another 3 hours. It will be afternoon by then, and I'll head to the Sea of Flowers area. I should be able to leave the grassland before spring. Occasionally, a mutated insect would appear, but it couldn't stop Lin Jun at all. His 10 layers compressed Dantian Chi wasn't just for show. Unless it was an S-grade mutated insect, he couldn't defeat it. A-grade mutated insects were no longer a threat to him. 09 Small said net. What Lin Jun didn't know was that many people outside were already very dissatisfied with him because he was searching for gemstone fragments at the back of the team. The preliminaries had been going on for more than 2 hours. It was already noon, but the spectators hadn't left yet. They were all paying attention to the rankings. The current situation was very unfavorable for China. Other than Lin Jun getting the first drop of blood at the beginning and making China famous, China didn't show any advantage in the following battles. Of course, there wouldn't be any changes to the advancement list for the time being. No one could reach the Garden House on the first day, and there might not even be many on the second day. Right now, everyone was paying attention to the slaughter list. At present, Crazy, who was ranked first, had already killed 25 people, far ahead of everyone else. Holliff gradually displayed his ability and was ranked second on the leaderboard after killing 18 people. After that, there was a long list of foreign names such as Doak, Ayer, Pogba, Shehan, Lancelot, Sanji, and so on. It wasn't until the 22nd place that a Huaxian name appeared. Wu Fengni of China's Northwest Army killed 11 people. Moreover, this ranking wasn't monopolized by him alone. There were more than a dozen people who killed 11 people. Then there were China's Tang Wenba, Dolong, Xia, and the others who had killed 10 people. As for Bing City's Tong Yuehu, he had killed less than 10 people. For example, Ma Yao and Wei Li hadn't killed more than 5 people, and their rankings were tied at the same place. However, no one was criticizing these people. Most people were criticizing Lin Jun. This was because ever since Lin Jun got the first drop of blood, his kill count hadn't changed at all. It was like an old bull that was nestled there. There was no change at all. Because of the large number of participants, other than those who could see the top of the leaderboard, the rest of the people could only search for them. Lin Jun had become famous because he got the first drop of blood. Currently, he was ranked first in terms of search results, even surpassing Su Mingwei. Su Mingwei had countless fans all over the world because of her identity and appearance. She had always been synonymous with high popularity. Especially recently, When Su Mingyue was on the cover of the God of War arena, she had captured the hearts of countless men. It was natural that she was highly searched for. After Su Mingyue killed one person at the beginning of the game, she didn't kill a second person. However, everyone could understand that. The Star God sect didn't encourage killing, especially the kind-hearted Su Mingyue, even if it was a virtual killing. At the beginning, when someone attacked her, she had to fight back and kill one person. After that, she would definitely avoid the others as much as possible. She didn't want to hurt others. However, Lin Jun was different. He was just a god of war from a small dojo. After entering, he even killed a Hall of Famer. His strength shouldn't be bad. But why is it that your kill count is still 1? This disappointed many Huaxia martial artists who had high hopes for Lin Jun. It also gave a lot of people who hated Lin Jun a chance. This time, there was a forum for the God of War arena. People from all over the world could log in and check the performance of a certain god of war and post posts. Posts rose one after another. Among them, nearly 1/10 of the posts were related to Lin Jun. Where's the first drop of blood from Huaxia? What's his ranking now? Look, this is the standard of Huaxia. It was just an accident that Lin Jun killed a Hall of Famer. Time will prove everything. Goddess Chris is mighty. She's fighting for our European Union martial artists. There's no doubt that Lin Jun is hiding. He's afraid of revenge from Russia. In your Huaxia language, he's a scoundrel. I just searched for Lin Jun's name again. His ranking finally changed. However, it dropped. He's currently ranked around 18,000. The Huaxia people were still trying their best to fight back. However, Lin Jun's kill count remained unchanged. This made their counterattacks pale and powerless. Fortunately, some other Huaxia people, such as Tang Wenbo, Feng Ni, and Dolong, were still steadily advancing in their rankings. This gave them some comfort. However, this couldn't stop people from being disappointed in Lin Jun. After getting the first drop of blood, he should at least make a move. It was easy for people to think that he was hiding. In an instant, people from all over the world who were jealous of Lin Jun's first drop of blood swarmed out. They instantly formed a huge group of people who hated him. Although Lin Jun was somewhat disappointing, the Huaxia people were still trying their best to protect him. After all, he was from their own country. People didn't expect him to get many kills. At least make a move to prove that he wasn't hiding. The war of words on the internet was overwhelming. However, it didn't affect the war gods in the virtual world. The virtual world gradually became cloudy. It seemed like it was going to rain. The time gradually approached the afternoon, and the sky became dark. If this rain continued, it might last for an entire night. It would probably be summer by the time the rain stopped. Lin Jun continued to move forward as he swept the area. He only stopped this time around in the afternoon. 75 ruby shards and 12 sapphire shards were his reward for the hard work he had put in this time. It's about time. I should also move forward. If I set off now, I should be able to reach the sea of flowers before evening. Lin Jun recalled the liquid metal. He stepped on the cloud and accelerated towards the sea of flowers. Although he couldn't fly at high altitudes, Lin Jun, who wasn't afraid of mutated insects, still flew at an extremely high speed at low altitudes. He gradually approached the fence. There were quite a few martial artists gathered near the fences. Although many war gods entered the virtual world, not all of them had leveling up as their goal. After arriving here and witnessing the strength of the experts from all over the world, many people began to think of retreating. At their level, it was definitely impossible for them to obtain a spot to level up. However, they were unwilling to leave now. There was a chance to obtain astral tools here. Even if they died, they would only be eliminated. It was equivalent to an ancient god ruin without any danger. Since that was the case, why not make a fortune here before leaving? There was a war god from the United States, who was also a Hall of Famer. His name was Mario, and he came from Seattle Bay City. This person's brain was relatively flexible. He carefully analyzed the possibility of leveling up and felt that even if he delayed for some time, he could still obtain a spot to level up. Since that was the case, he decided to stay and rob people. There were many people who had similar ideas. However, these people were basically not strong enough. When they encounter a Hall of Famer like Mario, they couldn't fight back at all. Mario didn't kill too many people. Those who didn't have any treasure light on their bodies were people who didn't have any harvest. Killing such people wouldn't be of much use. Therefore, he gathered these people together and formed a group of bandits. Whenever someone with treasure light appeared, they would go forward to intercept and kill them. Most of the gem fragments obtained were taken by Mario. The others could more or less get some. Those who didn't have treasure light would be absorbed by them. This gang grew stronger and stronger. By dusk, the gang had reached 30 people. Mario's body flashed with rich red and blue treasure light, making people envious. However, none of the war gods around him dared to have any ideas about Mario. A Hall of Famer had already proven his strength. A war god from India went to Mario's side in a flattering manner. "Boss, when are we going to the Sea of Flowers? We've already been here for a few hours." "No hurry. We'll go when it's really dark. It's not convenient for everyone to travel when it's dark. It's safer for us to move then. What if we find a fat sheep now?" "A black war god from the African Alliance side. I'm afraid it'll be difficult. Most people have already passed the fence. The remaining people are just shrimps. There's no fat sheep." Chapter 228. Seeing this figure, almost all the robbers stood up. "Fat sheep. He's definitely a fat sheep. God, how many shards does this guy have? That treasure light is almost dripping down. He's almost catching up to Boss. Boss, I estimate that this person has at least 100 shards. This time, we've all gained something, right?" Most of the time, even if there were a few shards, it would be taken by Mario alone. Even so, Mario's shards weren't much better than the people who came before him. Mario's eyes were also shining. It seemed that Robber Dow's choice was correct. As long as he got rid of this guy, he could go to the garden house to level up in peace. "Everyone get ready. Everyone will get a share of the loot after killing this person. However, don't act rashly. If you scare him away, no one will get anything." The 30 robbers all stood up and began to spread out to hide, preparing to surround the fat sheep that was about to arrive. Among these robbers, there weren't only Americans, Indians, and Africans. There were also people from various countries. There were even 4 or 5 Chinese. Among these Chinese, one of them came from Ice City's dragon slaying dojo. His name was Lei Ming. When Lei Ming first graduated and entered dragon slaying dojo, he was still a first-class student. This made him think that his future was limitless. However, on the day of graduation, he fought with Lin Jun and the other Gale students in Millennium. This cleared Lei Ming's mind and made him realize that there was always someone better out there. In the following days, Lei Ming couldn't recover from the setback. Although the effects of the gene medicine weren't bad, he was completely suppressed by Lin Jun's limelight. Lin Jun was like his nightmare. He always felt that Lin Jun was going against him at every turn. Later, Zhang Huai and the others from Dragon Slaying Dojo were killed by Lin Jun and Zhao Dong. Dragon Slaying Dojo also gradually began to decline. Lei Ming's days weren't easy either. Although he finally advanced to War God, he didn't even compress his first-year energy. This time, he had given gifts and begged for help. Finally, he had obtained the qualifications to enter the War God arena. His goal was to obtain some gemstone fragments inside to fill his somewhat tight wallet. However, he had always been paying attention to Lin Jun. He had watched this person soar to the top. Not only did he successfully become a warlord, but he also had so much money. He was even able to donate 30 billion to the capital Bay City. This was a number that he would never be able to reach in his lifetime. There was even news that Lin Jun's girlfriend was Su Mingyue. This made Lei Ming, who was one of the hundreds of millions of fans who had a crush on Su Mingyue, extremely jealous. Why could Lin Jun become a winner in life? Did he, Lei Ming, have to live such a miserable life? He refused to accept this. If there was a chance, he would definitely teach Lin Jun a harsh lesson. Today, in the qualifiers, Lin Jun had obtained first blood, which made him even more jealous. He originally thought that he would never be able to see Lin Jun's taillights again in his lifetime. However, now that he saw Lin Jun flying over, Lei Ming finally felt that his chance had come. If he could eliminate Lin Jun, that would be something that would give him a great sense of accomplishment. Lei Ming held his breath and quietly came to Mario's side. "Boss, I know this person. He's from our base city. Mario glanced at Lei Ming, nodded, and didn't say anything. When Lin Jun neared the fence, he slowed down. Although the sky was gradually darkening, Lin Jun's eyesight wasn't normal. He could faintly see a bit of light hidden in the grass. That was the glow of a gemstone. The glow of a gemstone fragment. If there was a gemstone glow, it meant that there were people hiding there. It went without saying what they were hiding there for. With a rough glance, there were quite a few people hiding there. There were about 30 of them. So many war gods weren't easy to deal with. Lin Jun was a bit hesitant. He wondered if he should change his route. The fence didn't allow him to enter the sea of flowers from anywhere. It was like a fence in the real world. Some places were so dense that even dogs couldn't pass through. Some places were so sparse that even pigs could squeeze through. The fence here was covered by a layer of light. If he wanted to pass through, he could only choose a few entrances. Normally, the distance between each entrance was about a dozen kilometers. Lin Jun didn't want to take a long detour. Just as Lin Jun hesitated and stopped, Mario was a bit anxious. What's going on? Could it be that this brat discovered us? The person beside him said in a low voice. It shouldn't be. It's almost dark now. His vision isn't good. Also, we're hiding in the tall grass. Could it be that he has night vision? Then why do you think he stopped? Mario was dissatisfied. I think he's being cautious. He has so many gemstone shards on him. He should be more cautious. He might be observing the situation. Who knows? I feel that this brat wants to take a detour. There are people doing the same thing as us in other places. If he leaves, then wouldn't others benefit from it? Mario was anxious. Should we kill our way out? Someone asked. Kill your head. Can't you see that he is a psychic? His running speed is top-notch. We can't catch up. Just when Mario was at his wit's end, Lei Ming said, Boss, why don't I go out and try to trick him to come over? Mario looked at Lei Ming and asked, Can you do it? Don't worry. I know him. This brat also has weaknesses. I believe in my instincts. Lei Ming was eager to show off and boasted. Okay, you go and try. If you succeed, I will give you 20% of the gemstone shards. Thank you, boss. Lei Ming was excited. Lin Jun might have close to 100 gemstone shards on him. If he could get 20% of the shards, then it would be a few hundred million worth of wealth. He could then leave the virtual world and return to Bing City to enjoy his life. Not every martial artist was as rich as Lin Jun. For someone like Lei Ming, not to mention a few hundred million, even tens of millions was not a small number. A few hundred million was enough to last a lifetime if one was frugal. Lei Ming walked out confidently and ran towards Lin Jun's direction. Lin Jun was observing from the sky. When he saw a person coming out, he thought it was a daring robber. But when he took a closer look, he realized it was an old acquaintance from Bing City. Lin Jun, are you Lin Jun? Lei Ming ran over anxiously. Lei Ming, long time no see. Why are you here? Lin Jun asked. Lin Jun, be careful. There are 2 foreign warlords lying in ambush in front. You must not go over. It was not easy for me to run over from there. Oh, 2 foreign warlords? Lin Jun squinted his eyes and looked at Lei Ming. Yes, 2 foreign warlords. One is level 3 and the other is level 4. They have already stolen a lot of gemstone shards. I'm not their match, so I had to endure the humiliation and deal with them. But when they saw you coming, they prepared to attack. I don't want to see you get hurt, so I ran out to tell you when they weren't paying attention. You should also run quickly, otherwise it will be too late. Lin Jun nodded. Since it is like this, I should take revenge for you. But can you do it? There are 2 of them. Lei Ming first set up a trap for Lin Jun to let Lin Jun feel that he had a chance to win. Then he used words to provoke Lin Jun. Lin Jun laughed. What do you think? Light flashed in his eyes, and he secretly sent out the soul lock. A late-stage Dark Old Spirit Reader used Spirit Lock on a person who wasn't even a Spirit Reader, and a beginner warlord who didn't even compress his dantian was easier than breathing. Lei Ming was hit in a second. Lei Ming quietly approached Lin Jun and revealed all the information he knew about him. After listening to Lei Ming's narration, Lin Jun had some confidence in his heart. There was only one person from the Hall of the Exalted, and the rest were all trash. This meant that there was still a chance to fight. At the very least, there was no problem in escaping. Okay, bring me there. Lin Jun patted Lei Ming's shoulder and walked towards the fence. Seeing that Lei Ming had really succeeded, Mario's eyes lit up. Great! That Chinese kid fell for it, huh? Everyone, get ready. After this, we can leave this place. Lin Jun walked to the left, just in front of him. There were 4 warlords lying in ambush here. They were all beginner warlords, and basically didn't compress their dantian. Walking behind Lei Ming, when they were about to approach, Lin Jun made his move. He dashed towards the bushes like a leopard and stabbed out with his spear like lightning. There were 2 warlords lying in ambush here. They originally wanted to guarantee Lin Jun's escape route, but they didn't expect that Lin Jun had already discovered them and suddenly attacked. After a stab, the 2 warlords who weren't prepared were stabbed together. Hit him! Within 0.1 seconds, Lin Jun stabbed again. Another warlord was killed on the spot. The remaining warlord screamed and wanted to run, but he was blocked by Lei Ming outside. Lei Ming was still in a state of spirit lock by Lin Jun, so he naturally helped Lin Jun. Lin Jun took a step forward and pierced his back with a spear. The 4th one. Lei Ming was so happy that he wanted to show off his achievement to Lin Jun. Lin Jun's gaze focused, and a mental attack hit his mind. Lin Jun didn't have the slightest bit of pity for such a scheming person. The huge difference in strength didn't turn Lei Ming into an idiot, but he directly died. The 5 of them were all killed within a second. More than a dozen gemstone fragments floated up, and Lin Jun raised his hand and collected them all. These were his spoils of war. At this time, the outside world was in an uproar. Those who were angrily attacking Lin Jun on the internet, those who were disappointed in Lin Jun, and those who scolded Lin Jun for being a coward, all saw the words scrolling on the big screen. Warlord Lin Jun from Azure Sky Dojo of Huaxia, Bingcheng Bay City, killed Indian Warlord XXX from Mumbai. Warlord Lin Jun from Azure Sky Dojo of Huaxia, Bingcheng Bay City, killed non-league Warlord XXX from Cairo. Warlord Lin Jun from Azure Sky Dojo of Huaxia, Bingcheng Bay City, achieved a double kill. Congratulations! Killing 2 people in 1 second was called a double kill. People didn't have time to react, and the screen continued to scroll. Warlord Lin Jun from Azure Sky Dojo of Huaxia, Bingcheng Bay City, killed European Warlord XXX from Berlin, achieved a triple kill. Warlord Lin Jun from Azure Sky Dojo of Huaxia, Bingcheng Bay City, killed Russian Warlord XXX. Warlord Lin Jun from Azure Sky Dojo of Huaxia, Bingcheng Bay City, killed Lei Ming from Dragon Slaying Dojo of Huaxia, Bingcheng Bay City, achieved a quintuple kill. Chapter 229. Many people in the outside world were still criticizing each other, but the number of people defending Lin Jun was getting lesser and lesser. The glory of being a 1-kill hero had dissipated, and the number of kills that had remained stagnant for a long time made people speechless. On the other hand, Lin He had formed an overwhelming number of haters. Anyway, they were not from their own country, and they were jealous of him for getting the first kill. Now that he had disappeared, who else could they criticize but him? Just when few people in China were speaking up for Lin Jun, the situation changed. Lin Jun double kill. Lin Jun triple kill. Lin Jun quintuple kill. The screen that had been relatively quiet suddenly had so many messages, and it made the Chinese spectators explode. Lin Jun, you finally came out. Awesome. Ho ho. Too cool. Quintuple kill. The first quintuple kill was completed within a second. Did Lin Jun arrange his opponents in a row? Don't come out and show off your shameful IQ. Why did you arrange them in a row? Can't the martial artists exit the virtual world if they can't win? Will they still be under your control? The foreign martial artists were dumbfounded. This Lin Jun did not make any moves for the whole day, and when the sky turned dark, he suddenly exploded and killed 5 people in a row. This was a slap to the faces of those Lin He. But Lin He were not to be trifled with. They immediately found a flaw in Lin Jun's quintuple kill. The last person that Lin Jun killed was actually from Bing City. Although martial artists from the same country were constantly fighting with each other, and since the start of the qualifiers, many people from the same country had been eliminated. But Lin Jun's actions made people suspicious. Could it be that this guy deliberately colluded with others to perform for this quintuple kill? In the end, he could not find anyone and could only use his own country's partners to make up the numbers. It must be like this. Otherwise, it would not be so coincidental. So Lin He exploded again. Look, that Lin Jun actually sacrificed his partners to achieve the quintuple kill. Brother from the EU, this is the truth. This plan is really too clumsy. Everyone can see through it at a glance. Lin Jun is probably anxious. In order to become famous, he doesn't care about anything else. What a cheap trick. Vain Huaxiao people, I despise you. How can there be such a coincidence in the world? Lin Jun, do you really think the whole world is a fool? I'm from Tianfu Bay City, but I also look down on you. That's right. On behalf of the Southern Bay City, I despise your actions. You're embarrassing yourself. You might as well be a coward. Good luck, Lin Jun. The martial artists of the capital Bay City support you. You have to continue killing a few of them and shut those foreigners up completely. Don't be naive. Huaxia's martial artists. Lin Jun probably can't kill anyone now because there aren't that many people willing to cooperate with him. Didn't you see that his companions were all killed? While these people were scolding him, another line of words suddenly appeared on the big screen. Lin Jun, the god of war from Azure Sky Martial Arts Club of Bingcheng Bay City, China, killed Triple X, the god of war from Moscow, Russia, killing like a madman. Lin Jun, the god of war from Azure Sky Martial Arts Club of Bingcheng Bay City, China, killed Triple X, the god of war from Leningrad, Russia, killing like a monster. Lin Jun, the god of war from Azure Sky Martial Arts Club of Bingcheng Bay City, China, killed Triple X, the god of war from New Delhi, India, killing like a demon. Lin Jun, the god of war from Azure Sky Martial Arts Club of Bingcheng Bay City, China, killed Triple X, the god of war from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, killing like a madman. Lin Jun, the god of war from Azure Sky Martial Arts Club of Bingcheng Bay City, China, killed Triple X, the god of war from Miami, America, killing like a god. Lin Jun's series of scrolling messages made the world speechless again. In the virtual world, Lin Jun had completely exploded. After killing 5 people in a row, Mario and the others finally realized that they had been tricked by Lin Jun. This guy had seen through their ambush long ago. Not only did he not run away, but he also came over and took them by surprise. They lost 5 people in an instant. However, Mario wasn't worried. There were still 25 people here. The ones who died weren't the main force. Not to mention, Lin Jun had obtained more gemstone fragments. If more people died, he would be able to kill Lin Jun in the end. Then, wouldn't he be able to obtain even more gemstone fragments? Therefore, Mario did not appear immediately. Instead, he gave the order, "Go, all of you go, and kill Lin Jun." When the surrounding gods of war saw the rich treasure light on Lin Jun's body, they could no longer hold back. When they heard Mario's order, they could not wait any longer and immediately rushed out like a swarm of bees. Lin Jun sneered with the Overlord spear in his hand. It was just as Thunder had said. There were no other experts here except for one hall of the Exalted member. That was just right. Everyone here had more or less gem fragments on them. It was a good harvest for him. Lin Jun stomped on the ground and rushed forward like a cannonball. The Overlord spear in his hand turned into a straight line. His body arched in the air, and he stabbed with the spear. 5 gods of war came toward him. 3 of them spread out like a fan, and 2 of them followed behind the person in the middle. Lin Jun did not care about the 2 people on his left and right. Instead, he suddenly sped up and shook off their siege. He attacked 3 people with all his strength. The difference between Dantian Shi that was 10 times compressed and Dantian Shi that was not compressed was like the difference between heaven and earth. Lin Jun stabbed with his spear. The first person's shield was pierced through. His body was like a piece of paper. The spear pierced through the second person's body. The second person was caught off guard and was also stabbed to death. The Overlord spear was 3 meters long. It was enough to continue to be powerful. Lin Jun's arm exerted force, and the third person was also pierced by the spear. 3 people with 1 spear. Lin Jun patted the spear's end. The spear pierced through 3 people's bodies. He rushed behind them and pulled out the spear. All of you, Dot. The spear shook again, and a torrential rain of spear light appeared. The 4 gods of war were riddled with holes. 2 of them died on the spot, and the other 2 twitched on the verge of death. Several people surrounded him from other directions. Lin Jun teleported to the back of the crowd and shot with his spear. Hit! 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 Poo-pu-pu. Their heads exploded like watermelons. Another 3 gods of war fell to the ground. Only now did the people in front realize that Lin Jun was at the back. Just as they turned their heads to look back, Lin Jun suddenly returned to the front and stabbed with his spear again. Another 3 people's throats were pierced. Blood splattered everywhere. Their bodies turned into streams of light and disappeared. Only the gemstone fragments fell out and landed in Lin Jun's hands. Ha ha ha! You clowns actually dared to rob and kill me. Then, all of you will stay here today. Don't even think about running away. Lin Jun began a terrifying massacre. His body appeared anywhere in the grass. Every time he appeared, there would be a god of war lying in a pool of blood. Gemstone fragments constantly floated towards him. They couldn't even keep up with his teleportation speed. A total of 24 gods of war surrounded Lin Jun. Within a minute, 20 of them had fallen. The remaining 4 gods of war were smart. Seeing that they couldn't win, they fled in 4 different directions. Lin Jun arrived at the east side. After finishing off one with his spear, he immediately teleported to the west side and finished off another one. At this time, the gods of war in the north and south had already run far away. Lin Jun suddenly threw out the Overlord spear in his hand. It directly pierced through the god of war in the south. The spear carried his body and slammed into the fence wall. He died on the spot. The god of war in the north thought that he had escaped. Lin Jun suddenly opened his hand. A ray of golden light with the support of lightning particles instantly streaked across several hundred meters and hit the back of his head. The golden light pierced through his forehead and disappeared into the dark grass. Only his corpse was still running a few steps due to inertia. In the end, he fell on grass. Only a few gemstone fragments floated up. Lin Jun raised his hand and collected the gemstone fragments. With another wave of his hand, gravity pulled the Overlord's spear back. He then looked at the darkness in the grass. How long are you planning to hide? Hall of Famer. At this time, the people outside were already scared silly by Lin Jun's crazy performance. One had to know that just 2 minutes ago, Lin Jun's ranking on the Carnage leaderboard was still around 20,000. Now, he had actually jumped to first place. He was now on the same level as the god of war Chris from the Paris-based city's Sacred Dojo in the European Union. They had both completed 30 kills and were tied for first place. And all of this was done within 2 minutes. Previously, he had a kill count of 29 people in 2 minutes. Everyone who said that Lin Jun was looking for people to put on a show were speechless. This was not something that could be put on a show. There were people from all over the world in every base city. Who would cooperate with a Huaxia martial artist to put on a show? Unless the entire world had gone crazy. The number of people supporting Lin Jun suddenly soared. There were all kinds of celebrations and flaunting. In an instant, Lin He was suppressed to the point that he couldn't raise his head. In their eyes, Lin Jun's performance was now flawless. Who could kill 29 people in a row? Lin He's supporters were suppressed for a while before one person found a black spot. Did anyone notice that Lin Jun only killed some nobodies? Other than Adolf, whom he probably killed in a sneak attack at the beginning, there was no one who was a real expert. This sentence immediately received countless responses from Lin Jun. Many people began to confirm that the people Lin Jun killed were incompetent. After all, the participating gods of war knew a lot of people. The examples given by these people were all true. For example, Bingqing's Shinta Hua jumped out to give an example. I, Shinta Hua, am the second person to be eliminated. I have embarrassed China, but I still have to say that the people Lin Jun killed were all rookies. For example, Lei Ming's skill level was similar to mine. We were both trash who didn't even compress first stage Dantian Qi. We were just there to be bystanders. What's there to be proud of for Lin Jun to kill such trash? He is just a noob expert. Although Xinhua was notorious in China, the foreigners immediately found a reason to support him. Countless people responded. Lin Jun's reputation as a noob expert started to spread. Just when they were about to make a big fuss about this, words started to scroll on the big screen. Chapter 230. Lin He, who was overseas, wanted to cry. Did this Lin Jun come here just to slap their faces? Those who slandered Huaxia might be the first to be eliminated. Lin Jun killed one of the 3 Russian warriors, Adolf, and took the first blood, successfully slapping the Russians' face for their humiliation before the competition. They had once again mocked Lin Jun for hiding like a tortoise, but Lin Jun had unleashed a huge explosion. He had actually killed like a god, and in one fell swoop, he had tied with Crazy and successfully reached the top of the Carnage leaderboard. After being scolded by Lin Jun for a while, Lin He finally found something to criticize, which was that Lin Jun only knew how to bully noobs. In the end, he received another slap. This time, the one he bullied was definitely not a noob. Mario, who came from Seattle, was very famous. He was a 9th grade war god and a spirit reader master. After killing this person, Lin Jun even left Crazy in the dust and occupied the top spot of the killing list. More importantly, Mario had 3 mid-grade astral tools on him. They were a mid-grade spirit-type defensive astral tool, a mid-grade astral tool armor, and a mid-grade astral tool long blade. With these 3 astral tools in hand, Mario was almost invincible. However, he was still killed by Lin Jun, the second Hall of Famer. This was the second Hall of Famer that Lin Jun, a nobody, had killed after entering the virtual map. This time, the ones who were slapped in the face were the people of America. Therefore, this self-proclaimed world's #1 country firmly remembered Lin Jun, remembered this Huaxia brat. Lin Jun was only 20 years old and was one of the youngest contestants in the competition. This time, there were only 3 participants under the age of 20. One of them was Lin Jun, the other was Su Mingyue, and the last one was Crazy from the European Union. Crazy had already proven her strength in battle. Su Mingyue was an exception. As a saintess, no one wanted Su Mingyue to go on a killing spree. Of course, no one dared to defame Su Mingyue. If they did, they would be destroyed by her fans. Lin Jun's crazy performance made the people of the world wonder if all people who became war gods at the age of 20 were this crazy. People like Xinhua and Laming were older than Lin Jun by a year or 2. However, even if they were also 20 years old, they wouldn't be taken seriously by others. No one would care about those fake war gods. At this moment, the number of Lin Mi's fans had increased by tens of millions, and the internet was filled with praises. Lin Jun, on the other hand, was completely silent. Lin He could no longer find any black marks on Lin Jun. Only a few people were still sourly saying that it was useless to kill 10,000 people. If he couldn't advance, they would all be for naught. They were looking forward to Lin Jun being eliminated. That would be their holiday. However, no one dared to place too much hope on this matter. Seeing how powerful Lin Jun was, it was almost impossible for him not to advance. Some people hoped that a stronger Hall of Famer would come out and eliminate Lin Jun. There was still some hope when they thought about it. Inside the virtual world, Lin Jun retrieved the spear made of liquid metal from Mario's body. Hall of Famers were indeed extraordinary. In front of Lin Jun, this Mario displayed his strength as a Hall of Famer. This person had a mid-grade spiritual defense astral tool, a low-grade astral tool armor, and a mid-grade astral tool long blade. He fearlessly attacked Lin Jun. Moreover, he was also a spirit reader in the early stage of Dark Gold. In a situation where he was prepared, Lin Jun's spiritual attack couldn't cause him too much damage. This person's will to fight was also extremely firm. He didn't fall behind at all when he fought with Lin Jun. With the mid-grade spiritual defense astral tool, Lin Jun's teleportation was interrupted several times. Mario even had the upper hand for a while. Seeing that this couldn't go on, Lin Jun decisively changed his move. The Overlord Spear couldn't pierce through Mario's astral tool armor after several consecutive thrusts. Just when he thought that victory was in his hands, Lin Jun decisively used the liquid metal and suddenly changed his spear. The spear pierced through the astral tool armor and defeated Mario. Mario never dreamed that Lin Jun could suddenly change his spear. How could a low-grade astral tool armor withstand the attack of a high-grade astral tool? He was defeated in one strike and died on the spot. Lin Jun won and let out a long sigh. With the gradual popularization of astral tools, these Hall of Famers' equipment was very good. A mid-grade spiritual defense astral tool could effectively resist Lin Jun's spiritual attack. Even if it was a low-grade astral tool, if the opponent was also a spirit reader, Lin Jun's spiritual attack would have a hard time defeating the opponent in one move. It would take a lot of effort. At the end of the day, strength was king. Lin Jun had also verified his current strength through this battle. He was now a level 5 war god. Dealing with a normal beginner war god or mid-grade war god wasn't difficult at all. He could even easily win against a normal advanced war god. Only those advanced war gods who had compressed several layers of Dantian Qi and had a spiritual defense astral tool were Lin Jun's true opponents, especially the Hall of Famers. There were only 100 or so people in the entire world. Lin Jun's strength wasn't outstanding among these people and could only be considered below average. Fortunately, Lin Jun still had time. Right now, it was only the preliminaries. He only needed to pass the preliminaries. He still had 3 months to train. Only the elimination round would determine who the king was. Mario died. A large amount of gem fragments flew out from his body and landed on Lin Jun's body. After counting the battle, Lin Jun was immediately overjoyed. Right now, he had a total of 210 ruby fragments and 30 sapphire fragments. A total of 240 fragments. After fighting this battle, his harvest was even more than a day of weeding. 21 low-grade astral tools and 3 mid-grade astral tools. This harvest isn't small. Unfortunately, there aren't any yellow gem fragments in this grassland. If I want to get a high-grade astral tool fragment, I have to go to the Sea of Flowers. Although Lin Jun's consumption wasn't small, the radiant energy was still quickly recovering his Dantian Qi. He didn't need to rest too much. He directly passed through the gap in the fence and entered the Sea of Flowers. In the Sea of Flowers, a winter jasmine was blooming. 2 women were resting on top of the flower. One of them had long blonde hair, a hot and sexy body, and blue eyes like the sea. It was Alice. There was another woman beside Alice. She also had long blonde hair and wore a metal mask that covered most of her face. Only her sapphire-like eyes and plump red lips were exposed. Her skin wasn't like a Westerner's. Instead, it was the kind of skin that belonged to the Orientals. Although only a small part of her face was exposed, the exquisite degree of her face and her soft body seemed to be above Alice's. She had the gentleness of an Oriental beauty and the beauty of a Western woman. People couldn't help but want to find out the truth under the mask. "Miss, there's something stuck on your hair." Alice reached out her hand and removed a small piece of flower leaf from the hair of the person called Mississippi. "Oh, I didn't feel it." Miss tidied up her blonde hair. "I really didn't expect to meet you here in the Sea of Flowers, Mississippi. You're really amazing, Mississippi. You're ranked first on the Carnage leaderboard. I admire you to death." Alice looked at Miss with stars in her eyes. The young lady was Chris, who came from Paris Bay City. Hearing Alice's words, her beautiful red lips curled up slightly. "It's all right. I've also used all my strength. Halef and the others probably haven't used much strength yet. I feel that even against Halef, Miss, you can still put up a fight. It's very difficult. Halef can kill an S-rank mutant beast alone. That's something I can't do at the moment." Crazy shook her head slightly. "That's because Miss is still young. When you reach Halef's age, your achievements will definitely surpass his. I've never seen a fighter with more talent than you." Crazy smiled. "There are too many talented fighters. I'm not the only one who's young. For example, Divine Sex Saintess Su Mingwe. Her potential is definitely very strong." Hearing this, Alice hesitated for a moment. "Miss, I feel that you're overestimating Su Mingwe. Indeed, Su Mingwe is a rare genius. But Miss, you don't have to belittle yourself. You're now a dark gold spirit reader and a natural-born speedy person. Furthermore, in London's Divine General Training Camp, You completed the 9 layers compression in 2 years. In less than a year, you advanced to a 5th level war god. I feel that you're the most outstanding genius. The definition of a genius isn't that simple. I didn't know that I had such potential before. It's just that there's a force that's pushing me forward. I don't want to lose to anyone, including Su Mingwei. Miss, you didn't lose to her. Your talents should be about the same. That Su Mingwei just looks. According to the words of the East, she's the most seductive vixen. Although I haven't seen your true face, I feel that you're definitely not inferior to her. Alice comforted her. Hee. According to your words, doesn't that make me a vixen? Oh, no. Miss, that's not what I meant. What I meant was, sometimes vixen isn't a derogatory term. Alice explained clumsily. I understand. But just like you said, I value her. I think so. From a woman's point of view, she's someone worth valuing. Crazy didn't deny it. Alice saw that Miss wasn't very happy, so she didn't continue the topic. Instead, she casually looked at the virtual system. Yeah, Miss, you've been surpassed. Really? Did Hala surpass me? Or Air? Crazy asked. Neither. It's an Asian called Lin Jun. Alice replied with a guilty conscience. Crazy froze for a moment. It's him? The guy from Bing City that you went on a mission with, Hanson? It should be. If Bing City's war god doesn't have the same name as him, and he's so young, I think he's about the same age as you. It's rare to see someone like him.